Cubs, the team they beat in the first meeting this spring between the two teams in Mesa. Well, Mark Gubicza is alongside. Gooby, great to be with you today.
Great to be here.
And Mark will be on the telecast here for the next week or so. Jose Mota is currently covering the World Baseball Classic. Well, the Angels are off to a good start this spring, a 7-2 record. You're well aware of that. And today we'll see Jesse Chavez on the mound. It'll be his second start for the Angels this spring as the pitchers projected to be in the starting rotation now get ready to make their second turn.
Yeah, that battle for that fifth spot for Jesse. I've always been a fan of his. His stuff is good. Fastball, electric at times, mid-90s. Has a good cut fastball, slider, curve, and changeup. He threw the ball so well out in those 2 innings pitched. He had that fastball. He rides it up in the upper part of the strike zone. And when you're throwing 92, 93, 94 upper part, you can get some swing and misses. And he's been pretty successful in his career when he's getting that opportunity to be a starter. That's exactly what he wants to do. I even talked to him a little bit today about the fact that he's got a chance to start. You can see his numbers are much better as a starter as far as the ERA is compared to coming out of the bullpen for Chavez. I really like what he's been able to do. Throws a lot of strikes and extremely competitive, Terry.
All right, Jesse Chavez on the hill today against Jake Arrieta for Chicago. Let's move to the offensive side. The Angels hit a couple of home runs yesterday in their ball game. Didn't come away with the victory, though. Not a whole lot of home runs so far this spring, just 4 in the 9 games. What do you read into that?
Well, I think a lot of times, when, especially hitters are always behind a little bit when it comes to pitchers at this point in the year. So they're just trying to get their swing. They're trying to get their timing. But we see Marte joining the parte already. It's never too early to throw that in there for you, Terry. He has a quick swing, be able to turn on it and drive that ball out to left. He does have a quick bat, especially on the inner half of the plate. We know what Cole Calhoun can do. You make a mistake, inner part of the plate, he will drop the head of the bat and drive that out a long way. Trying to still work on hitting the ball the other way more consistently. When he does that, he's going to put up great numbers. But don't read too much into the fact that the home runs or lack thereof so far, they will get their swings together.
Well, yesterday, Garrett Richards was on the mound for the first time in the game against the Cincinnati Reds, and I know he was anxious for that start. Went a couple of innings, did give up some runs. What'd you think about his outing?
Well, I think when you think about any time you're coming back from that type of start, you're going to be a little bit amped up. His velocity was pretty good. I think it was consistently in the low to mid-90s. That's what you're looking for from Garrett. Yeah, he can touch up there upper 90s, but it's all about getting a good, smooth mechanics, not overthrowing the baseball. I thought at times yesterday, his stuff was there. Electric at times, the break ball there for him too. But again, you don't read into numbers as much as the fact that talking to him today, the most important thing, he said he felt great, little soreness in the normal spots. You're going to be a little bit sore after pitching the job he did yesterday.
Well, after Garrett Richards worked in yesterday's game, his first game this spring, he had a chance to visit with our own Alex Curry.
It's a good feeling. You know, I woke up this morning with a little bit of butterflies in my stomach, but I think that that's a good thing. Got excited on a couple pitches, but overall everything was kind of doing what I wanted it to do. It's a good outing to build off of, but most importantly, I came out of it totally fine. So, like I said, it's a good one to build off of, and I'm just looking forward to the next one.
I mean, there was a point last season where you weren't sure if you were going to pitch in 2017. So what did it mean to see your entire team standing up in the dugout and then all stand up to give you high fives after that first inning?
I mean, it's great. You know, we got some of the best guys around on our team, and you know, we're always pulling for each other, so it's always nice to see everybody kind of come together like that. But you know, I'll be rooting for them just like they're rooting for me, and you know, it's going to be fun to see what this team does this year.
Now, you've mentioned that your arm feels stronger than ever after getting this stem cell injection. Was that the case still this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I felt totally fine. You know, as far as my numbers go and everything was as it always is. So, you know, still working on a little bit of feel things and some mechanical stuff, but that's part of spring training and part of the season. So, it's just I'm just looking forward to the next one, and I'm glad that this one went the way it went.
Angels and the Chicago Cubs here from Tempe. A beautiful day for baseball. We'll have the lineups and the start of today's game. It's coming up next right here on Fox Sports West.
Diablo Stadium. We have a great day here today. Into 60 degrees, sunny weather. We got the Chicago Cubs taking on your Los Angeles Angels. And for the Chicago Cubs leading off, coming back from that injury last year, came back in the World Series for Chicago. Kyle Schwarber will lead off and play left field. Chris Bryant, who made that last out of the World Series, fielding that ground ball at third base for the Chicago Cubs, playing third base, batting second. Anthony Rizzo playing first base. Ben Zobrist, the big base hit. The Chicago Cubs batting fourth. Jason Hayward working on that swing, playing right field, batting fifth. Wilson Contreras batting sixth, designated hitter. Shortstop Munenori Kawasaki playing shortstop and batting seventh for the Chicago Cubs. Batting eighth, Carlos Corcoran is the catcher, and batting ninth, Albert Almora Jr. playing center field, batting ninth.
All right, Mark, we're ready for baseball. Here's the first pitch today. It's a little bit outside on the leadoff batter, Kyle Schwarber. We're underway, and the count is 1 ball and no strikes. We'll have the Angels lineup coming up for you in just a moment. And here's the next delivery. That one is a little bit low. Don't forget, it's the perfect time and temperature for some Major League Vino. Bring in Madalena, also Cabernet or Chardonnay for the win. Found at Angel Stadium and your favorite retailer. Our game time temperature as we get started here today in Tempe, 66 degrees. And the first pitch at 12:08 Pacific time. Got started a little bit early today, Mark.
That's how I roll. Change the lineups up, start the game a little bit early. Terry, I just got to keep you on your toes.
There you go. You're doing a very good job of that. And the next pitch, and the count missed, and it's now 3 balls and 1 strike. Schwarber, the batter, he turned 24 yesterday. And here's the next pitch. Lifts that one in the air into right field, but it's right out there by Cole Calhoun, who'll gather it in for the game's first out. So 1 away. Chris Bryant will be the next batter.
I like what Chavez did there. He challenged Schwarber, even worked the count, got in a good hitter's count, got a pitch to drive, but just got underneath it enough to be able to get an out in right field for Chavez. A guy that throws a lot of strikes. Fastball is going to be 90-94. Cuts his fastball very well. Slider, curveball, changeup.
So here is Bryant. And so far this spring, just 2 for 12. One of the hits, a home run. He has driven in 4 runs, and the first delivery, that's a breaking ball on the outside part of the plate for a called strike.
You almost forget how big he is. We were walking by him when we were talking to Joe Madden before the game. He is a big dude.
Yep. Goes about 6'5", and of course the reigning MVP in the National League from a year ago. Lines that one into left, and that's going to fall in for a base hit. So a 1-out single. Bryant is aboard. Anthony Rizzo will be the next batter. Around the infield today, the Angels have C.J. Cron playing first base, Danny Espinosa at second. Jeffrey Marte is the third baseman with Cliff Pennington at shortstop. Eric Young Jr., late replacement out there in left field for the Angels. May have been a scratch from the original starting lineup. Mike Trout's in center. Cole Calhoun's in right. Martin Maldonado in center. Yunel Escobar is DHing, and Jesse Chavez, 33 years old, on the mound, making his second start this spring. So here's Rizzo, and the first pitch on him, that's a little bit low. He had been sidelined the last few games for the Cubs because of a back issue, and back in the lineup here today. Tomorrow the Cubs are going to play the Italian team, Team Italy, their World Baseball Classic team, and Rizzo has already said he wants to play in that game. He has the Italian heritage, if you will, and he actually played for Team Italy the last World Baseball Classic.
With some young talent on the Chicago team. Even go back to that bat by Bryant. That wasn't a bad pitch by Chavez. He got that fastball in, but Bryant did a nice job of bringing his hands inside the baseball and hit that to left field for a hit.
Next one on the left-handed batter, a big cut, snap throw, and diving back to the bag goes Bryant.
Who's in, who's out?
Bryant will kind of pick his spots as far as running. He had 8 steals a year ago. Ben Zobrist is waiting on deck for the Cubs. Just underway, first inning, no score here from Tempe. Shortstop Cliff Pennington playing very close to second base. Angels hoping maybe a double play possibility here in the pitch. That's a breaking ball low and away. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Pretty good indication of that arm strength of Maldonado behind the plate, how he backpicked. Brian, Joe Madden was telling a lot about Maldonado, how good he is as far as defensively, you know, getting those pitches a little bit, sometimes a little bit off the corners, inside and out for strikes, but a very good throwing arm.
So Chavez is about ready to come in with the 2-2, and here it comes. It's popped in the air into left field, right at Young. He'll make the grab on it, and that's the second out. Runner holding at first base. Umpires today, Dale Scott calling balls and strikes, and on the bases we have Doug Eddings, Mike Everett, and Bill Miller, veteran big league crew here today. So here's Zobrist, who has yet to get a hit for the Cubs in Cactus League action. 0 for 8. Switch hitter. And boy, what a year he had last year for the Cubs, and instrumental in their playoff success, winning the World Series last year. First pitch he takes, it's in there for a called strike.
Yeah, but back-to-back world champs. He was with the Kansas City Royals the year before that.
Yeah. Zobrist was an all-star last year with the Cubs. And here's the next pitch. He was fooled on that one and went around on it. Ball got away from Maldonado, but no advancement by the base runner Bryant. He stays at first. So the count jumps to 0-2.
Good off-speed pitcher from Chavez. That's the thing. He has real good, solid mechanics. Keeps that front shoulder in very well. Drives towards the plate.
Here's the 2-strike pitch, and he got him looking on the inside corner, and Zobrist knew it, struck him out. So we are going to the bottom of the first inning. There's no score here in Tempe on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West.
And we are back. The Angels going to be hitting here in the bottom of the first inning. Chicago had 1 hit. Didn't score a run. Chavez threw the ball very well. And for the Angels here, Escobar, who's playing third base, will be leading off. I'm sorry, DH leading off here today. Cole Calhoun will be batting second. Mike Trout, the reigning MVP, batting third. Danny Espinosa batting fourth. CJ Cron batting fifth. Jeffrey Marte will bat sixth. Martin Maldonado seventh. Cliff Pennington eighth, and Eric Young Jr. number 9 in the lineup for the Halos today.
All righty, and at the plate is Escobar, and the first pitch from Jake Arrieta is in there for strike one. Arrieta, birthday today, 31 years old. big right-hander, 6'4", 225-pounder. And he misses with that fastball to outside. Want to remind you who's in and who's out. It's brought to you by In-N-Out Burgers. That's what a hamburger is all about. And Mark gave you the Angels lineup. In the lineup today for the Angels, the late move with Eric Young Jr. in left field, the scratch Cam Maben, and there's a shot right up the middle. That's going to fall in for a leadoff base hit for Escobar. So he is on to start things off in the bottom of the first inning. Cole Calhoun will be the next batter.
Yeah, Escobar is so quick with his hands. He can get inside the baseball so well, use the middle of the field, hit the ball well the other way. Always has been aggressive, but always fights back in the counts where he's going to get a fastball to be able to hit well.
So Calhoun at the plate. 10 at bat so far this spring, and he's made the most of it with 4 hits. Infield at double play depth. Next pitch, and that's waved at and missed. Good off speed pitch for a strike. Arrieta has had a lot of success since becoming a Chicago Cub. He will be a free agent at the end of the season. 18-game winner a year ago. He's had a couple of no-hitters the last couple of seasons. One against the Dodgers in 2015. One against the Reds last April. And he was an all-star a year ago for the first time. And he won the National League Cy Young Award in 2015. So a lot of success with the Cubs. It'll be interesting to see if he's with them this time next year.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, he throws a lot of fastballs, whether it's his 2-seam, 4-seam, or cut fastball, but he's around the strike zone a lot, throws across his body, so he creates a real good deceptive delivery for hitters having a difficult time tracking the baseball.
And here's the 1-1, and that's low and inside on Cole Calhoun. So 2 balls and a strike. The Cubs this spring in their 11 games, they've won 3, they've tied 3, and they've lost 5. Angels are playing their 10th game here in the Cactus League and have a 7-2 record. Infield at double play depth. And here's the next pitch. That's a shot. One hopper through the right side. Another hit. So the first 2 batters for the Angels with singles against Arrieta. And again, he's making his first spring start. Joe Madden, the last few years as the Cubs manager, has kind of worked in the starting pitchers in their rotation after about a week or so of games. And thus Arrieta pitching today for the first time, even though this is their 12th game, and he hasn't had any injury issues. This has all been by design.
Yeah, you want to make sure when you have that last start, you're ready to be able to go out 6 or 7 innings, your last start before the real season.
And here's the pitch on Mike Trout, and he lifts a lazy fly ball into right field. The catch is made by Hayward. He has a gun out there in right, and it's that throw to third in time as Escobar was not tagging. The lead runner remains at second. So Trout retired. He went after the first pitch right there. There's one gone.
Yeah, there's times that challenge a right fielder on a play like that, but not Hayward with that arm and the accuracy he has in that arm. But it's good seeing Trout doing it again, swinging at that first pitch. He had over 600 last year when he may put that first pitch in play. So sometimes that might be the best pitch you can hit during that sequence.
Now, there was a time when Mike Trout would never swing at the first pitch. So that part of his game has evolved in recent years. So the batter now is Danny Espinosa. Switch hitter, and that one on Espinosa. He takes it low for ball 1. It's 1-0. The first inning being brought to you by Rennick Subaru. For Subaru, don't forget the Subaru A Lot to Love event. Think Rennick, R-E-N-I-C-K, Subaru.com. Bottom of the first inning, no score. Angels and the Chicago Cubs. Here's the next pitch, and that one misses inside for a ball.
Yeah, both these pitchers today will pitch inside very effectively. They both have that 2-seamer run in on a lefty, but they'll throw the cut fastball in also.
This meeting between the two teams, the second and final this spring, and they will not play each other during the regular season. Here's the next pitch, and that one called strike on the outside part of the plate on Danny Espinosa. Danny Espinosa kind of looked like Jake Arrieta a couple days ago with that big, thick, bushy beard.
I was looking forward to seeing that, but you guys were talking about it yesterday. He shaved it.
Yeah. And here's the next pitch. That's a cut and a miss. So the count level on him. It's now 2-2. As Espinosa bats so far this spring, he's gone 1 for 9. Crone waiting on deck. Arrieta's next pitch, and he tried to pick up that corner on the outside part of the plate, a little bit low, so it's a full count.
Wonder if Mike Soch will be aggressive here in a 3-2, 1 out. Only thing Chicago has in the favor is with a left-handed batter up a clear throw, just in case there's no contact made at third base.
Yep. So we'll see what happens here on the payoff with 1 out. Runners at first and second. They're on the move, and the pitch, it's missed for the strikeout, and then the throw to third base is going to double up Escobar, and it ends on a strike him out, throw him out, double play. So that'll do it here for the Angels in the bottom of the first. Couple of hits to start the inning off, but not much else after that. We've completed 1 inning today here in Tempe with no score on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Second inning baseball, no score. The first pitch from Jesse Chavez on the leadoff batter in the inning for the Cubs, Jason Hayward. He takes, and it's in there for a strike. Hayward has struggled so far this spring. And of course, he had a tough year offensively last year with the Cubs. The pitch, as I say that, he blasts a ball to right field, and you can kiss it goodbye. He didn't have a tough time with that pitch. A home run, probably 400 feet or more out there to right field. That's his first hit this spring. He's now 1 for 16.
Yeah, he's made an adjustment with his swing and obviously with his hands. When he starts out in his approach for the pitch coming in, he has his hands a little bit further away from his body, but as Chavez is bringing the pitch in towards him, he's bringing the hands in, is still able to get the bat head out. He's opened up the front hip. That allows him to clear that path to be able to drive the ball better to right field. Clearly what he's trying to do is be able to drive the ball with authority to right field and stay back a little bit longer on a ball away.
Next batter up, bouncing one through the left side. First ball swinging is Wilson Contreras. He's one of their catchers DHing today, so first pitch single for him. And now Albert Almora Jr. will be the next batter. I want to remind you this copyrighted broadcast presented by authority of Angels Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of today's game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of Angels Baseball.
Yeah, this Chicago lineup, they have some aggressive hitters who will attack the first pitch, but they also have some patient ones, and Zobrist and guys like that will work counts a little bit more so. They do walk as a team a lot. They were amongst the leaders as far as that category last year.
So this is Kawasaki at the plate. And the first pitch on him is a ball to count 1-0. Kawasaki, a left-handed batter. And the next delivery, that one is chopped on the left side, and the throw to first is late. So that'll be a hit for Kawasaki. And moving up to second base is Contreras, and they've had 3 straight hits to start off the inning.
Looked like Espinosa was a little bit late getting to the base, and it was something they were working on a lot today. Fielding drills, bunt drills with the pitchers. Plays like that one right there to Marte as he throws the ball, and then Espinosa trying to find the base at that point. You try to get there a little bit early, but he's playing more so up the middle. It's a more difficult play for a second baseman to get there quick enough.
So Carlos Corcoran is the batter. And the delivery, that one is a pitch he takes for a strike. Corcoran is a switch hitter, their catcher. And the next pitch, and that one is a pitch that is cut on. He tried to hold up, went around.
Yeah, that's the type of pitch where Chavez thinks if he makes contact, that's going to be on the ground. A perfect ground ball candidate for a double play is Corcoran at the plate.
So it's no balls, 2 strikes, a run in, 1-0 Cubs here in the second. And here's the next pitch, and that one misses a little bit low.
See, for me, that is a perfect 0-2 pitch. Just a little bit off the corner, close enough where the hitter thinks, okay, if he throws another one in that spot, the umpire may call that. So you can expand the strike zone a little bit more so after you hit a spot like that, just a little bit low off the outside corner, but close enough where the hitter thinks it could have been called a strike.
And the 1-2 delivery, taps it softly on the right side. Espinosa flips the second one, relay to first. That's going to be a double play. Angels did a good job turning that one. So Corcoran is retired. And it looks like the Cubs have kind of changed up their lineup as well. We had Almora slated to hit here, but it's going to be Hanneman, Jacob Hanneman.
You're not blaming that on me too, are you?
Oh, there's a lot of moving pieces here today. So this is Jacob Hanneman who is going to be batting. Double-A last year, hit .247. And here's the pitch on him. He takes that one off speed delivery, misses for a ball. So both teams having some changes as far as the original starting lineups. Here's the next pitch. Popped in the air, foul. It's on the left side, backing out of play. One ball, 1 strike, the count. Contreras is the base runner over there at third base with 2 outs and the 1-1. That's low and inside. 2 balls and 1 strike.
See that again. Chavez throws the ball inside so well, especially left-handed batters. No cut action in there to get to the inside part of the play. Pretty close to being called a strike.
And the next delivery, it's tipped foul right by the plate.
It's a real good sequence. After you cut fastball in, you go something off speed. You see the hitter in a count where you think you're going to get a fastball, something to drive, so off speed out in front, fouls it into the ground.
So 2-2 is the count. And the next delivery, that is just a little bit low and away for a ball. And it's a full count. The Angels are certainly hoping that Jesse Chavez will go 3 innings today. And Alex Meyer will likely follow him. And he, in all likelihood, the Angels are counting on him to go 3 innings. Here's the payoff pitch. That's nubbed foul back behind the plate. And the count stays full. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Looking forward to seeing that little adjustment he has in his delivery, Alex Meyer.
Yeah. Meyer trying to win a spot on the Angels staff. And actually, you could say that Chavez and Meyer might each be fighting for the 5th and final spot in the starting rotation. And there's a swing and a miss. He gets the left-handed hitting Hanneman, struck him out, and that's how the inning went. Well, they got the leadoff home run, and that ends up being the only run in the inning. They had 3 hits, no errors, and they leave a runner on. We're headed to the bottom of the second. 1-0 Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Bottom of the second we go. It's 1-0 in favor of the Cubs. And Jacob Hanneman is out there in center field. Albert Almora actually played center in the Angels bottom of the first inning when the Angels were batting, but he did not bat. So I'm not sure if that was by design or not. Hanneman ended up hitting for him, and he stays in the game out there in center. Here's the 0-1 pitch, and that one is a little bit outside on C.J. Cron. I want to remind you this spring, find your escape route off-road with great deals on a new Jeep. Head into your local Jeep dealer for the Jeep Spring Clearance event. It's going on now. And here's the next pitch. That's outside.
Well, it's not an easy task if you're a right-handed batter going against Arrieta. The way he throws across his body, abbreviated windup that he has, hides the ball very well for a right-handed batter to be able to track that at the end.
And there's a pitch that Cron was fooled on. He tried to hold up, went around on that one, and now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on C.J. Cron, who's playing first base today. Infield is backed up. And here comes the next pitch. That's a little bit low. It misses inside.
Track that one much better. Look at the inner part of the plate. Again, when he's throwing the ball, he hides the ball so well, especially against a right-handed batter. Arrieta does. Remember last year, opening game for the Cubs against the Angels, threw the ball very, very well.
Here's the next pitch. Fouled off by Chrome, back to the screen. So we'll do it again, 3-2. Jeffrey Marte waits on deck. Had a home run for the Angels yesterday in the loss to the Reds. And here's the payoff pitch. This one is chopped on a hop to third, fielded cleanly by Bryant. His throw is in plenty of time. Cron an easy out. One gone. Marte the hitter. Jeffrey's been seeing a lot of action so far this spring, whether it's at third base where he's playing today or at first base. And you look at Marte's numbers so far this spring for the Angels. This is game number 10, and he's been in 8 of them. And as far as at bats coming into the ball game, Marte entered play here today with the most at bats of any Angel player. Arrieta is set, and here's the 0-1 pitch. That's a pitch taken on the outside corner. It's a called strike.
So breaking ball and then a fastball, and knowing Marte's very aggressive, especially first pitch fastball, inner part of the plate. He's stayed away so far in these first 2 pitches Arrieta has against Marte.
Here's the next pitch. That's popped up foul on the right side, backing out of play. Count holding. 0-2 the count. The Cubs still have a little battle going on right now as far as who will be their number 5 starting pitcher. The first 4 in their rotation are locked up in the pitch, and Marte hits one deep down the left field side, tight to the line. It is out of here. Home run. Second game in a row. Marte is homered, and the Angels on that one-out solo homer have tied up the game at 1.
It's the Marte parte again for you, Terry. We talked about it in the opening, how quick he was on that one there against Arrieta. Arrieta's a guy that will give up some home runs when he makes a mistake with location. And Marte ready to turn on that one. Hit one out to left field, try to go upstairs with a fastball. Great job as far as bringing in his hands at the barrel of the bat and hooks that right down the line for a home run.
So Arrieta, who doesn't give up a whole lot of home runs, allows one here in his first start this spring. At the plate for the Angels now is Martin Maldonado. He takes a strike in just a little under 200 innings last year. Arrieta allowed 16 home runs. Here's his next pitch. That's low. It skipped away from the catcher Corcoran. 1-1 the count.
An impressive swing, though, by Marte to bring his hands in. They were trying. The target was set. Fastball up and in. Brought his hands inside. Drives it out.
Here's the pitch. And, boy, that one had Martin Maldonado ducking, and he ends up taking ball 2.
Yeah, one of those products where he throws across his body like that. It's tough sometimes for a right-handed batter to see the baseball out of his hand.
2-1 delivery. There's a little flare into center field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. So Maldonado is on. He has a 1-out single. And for Maldonado, that's his first hit this spring. He had gone 0 for 12 coming into the ball game. So a runner on. Cliff Pennington, the Angels shortstop, the batter. Pennington's been getting some extra playing time with Andrelton Simmons with the Netherlands World Baseball Classic team. And here's the pitch. That's a pitch that is in there for a called strike. The World Baseball Classic has begun. They've played some games, and there was kind of a very surprising upset yesterday in Korea, where Israel beat Korea in extra innings. And here's the pitch. That is one hopper out of the reach of Kawasaki into left center. That's a base hit. Then the ball gets away from the outfielders and rolls out near the rim of the track. The Angels are going to get a run on it. The relay to third is late, as getting there is the batter Pennington, and the Angels have a 2-1 lead. Schwarber and Hanneman out there in left center struggled after that ball got in between them, and it rolled out almost to the warning track.
Yeah, you wonder if it's a communication issue or not, who was going to be able to cut that one off. But it goes down to the real good swing by Cliff Pennington, staying back, going the other way with it. Got it by the shortstop. And the ball gets underneath it and away, finally all the way back to the wall to allow a run to score. But again, it all goes back to the real good swing by Cliff Pennington. That ball would travel deep in the strike zone, hit that ball very well past the shortstop for a base hit. End up scoring a run on the error.
So no RBI on that one. They brought the infield in. And at the plate is Eric Young Jr. and he chops that one foul on the right side. So the count 0-1.
Yeah, you look at home. Why would they bring the infield in at this point? It's all about working on certain things. Obviously, during a game, during the regular season, this early in the ball game, they're not going to have the infield in, but it's an opportunity with the starters, majority of them in the game. It allows them to come in with the infielders in to be able to react a little bit better if a ground ball is hit and the play could be made at the plate.
So here's the next pitch, and that's popped foul on the left side and out of play, back to the seats. I believe Pennington will get a single on that one, even though he ends up at third base. No RBI, and you have the error factoring into the Angels getting their second run in the inning. Here's the next pitch, and that's a pitch that comes in, and it gets a piece of Eric Young Jr. So he's hit by the pitch. And boy, after the home run allowed by Arrieta here, we've had 2 hits to follow and now a hit batter. So he's scuffling a little bit out there on the mound. Runners at the corners now.
It's always fascinating to see outfielders when you're playing on the ground, the ball's hitting the grass on the ground, where the different cuts of the outfield grass makes it difficult. If you take your eye off the baseball just for a short period of time, because it's going to roll a little bit different, you're not looking at the baseball, it's going to get by, and that's exactly what happened there and allowed the Angels to score a run.
Error on the ball that Pennington hit goes against Schwarber, the left fielder. There goes the runner at first, Young, and there's a ground ball on the right side. Diving stop there by Zobrist. Gets up, throws to first in time to get Escobar, but he will get an RBI on that 4-3 ground out, as coming in to score will be Pennington, and the Angels now lead it 3-1.
Aggressive base running. If Young is not going on that play, that's going to be a double play ball, because it was hit very well and very hard by Escobar, but at Zobrist it would have been a double play ball. But Young going, end up getting a second base and run scores because of that.
So the Angels will take that. They'll give up the out to get the runner in. And here's Cole Calhoun, who singled his first time up. 3 runs, 5 hits so far for the Angels. A run on 4 hits for the Cubs. Both teams scoring here in this second inning, and the first delivery low taken by Cole Calhoun for ball 1.
That's the one thing you see around baseball, especially against Arrieta, and a number of these pitchers for Chicago. They will try to be aggressive and try to steal base. Eric Young Jr. had a great jump going on that hit and run there with Escobar swinging the bat.
Here's the next pitch. That's a shot into right field. Hayward comes over, dives, and he makes the grab on that one, on that sinking liner. It wasn't all that deep in right center. The inning is over, but the Angels put a 3 spot on the board, doing it with 3 hits in the inning, an error, and the Angels will leave a runner. We've completed 2 and head to the third as we go there. It's 3-1 Angels on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Here we go to the third inning, and it's a 3-1 Angels lead. First batter up is Kyle Schwarber, and he takes the pitch in there for a strike. 0-1 is the count. Jesse Chavez now in inning number 3, working with a 2-run cushion. Here's the pitch on Schwarber, and that one is low. Schwarber a year ago played in 2 games for the Cubs, 2 regular season games. He had 4 at-bats during the regular season, and he suffered a ligament tear, left knee, ACL, and his LCL. And then he was out after early April until the end of the regular season, but he did come back to play in the postseason, and he played in the World Series, and in 5 games he hit over 400.
It's amazing he was even able to play and be able to have that timing when you only had a few games, I think, in Arizona before you got ready for the World Series.
Right. There's a cut and a miss, and the count 2-2. He played in some Arizona Fall League games, and people just couldn't believe there was a chance that he might play in the World Series, and not only did he play, but he really contributed. Couldn't play in the field. He was just DHing when they were playing the games in Cleveland, and of course was available to pinch hit in the games that were played in Chicago. 3-2 is the count on him. Young player, only 24 years old, and he is a solid hitter. Here's the next pitch, and that one, he thought it was ball 4. He takes a called third strike. He had flipped his bat over towards the on-deck circle, thinking he had a walk, but he's out looking one away.
Yeah, he's very patient and has a good eye, but this is a good pitch here from Chavez. Another one of those calls you get from Maldonado behind the plate, where quiet hands, frames the pitch, gives Dale Scott an opportunity to call that one a strike. Credit Maldonado for that third strike.
So here is Bryant, who singled his first time up. Chavez has had a strikeout now in all 3 innings, and he had 3 of them in his first start in 2 innings. Jesse Chavez is not a guy that's going to overwhelm you with velocity, but he'll pick up his share of strikeouts. Averaged almost 1 an inning as a reliever last year.
Seems
1 ball,
like,
1 strike.
Terry, his punch-out pitch with his fastball is the upper part of the strike zone, because it's one of those things, a little bit lower becomes a hittable one, a little bit higher it's a swing and miss fastball.
And the pitch, 1 hopper hit on the left side. Good stop by Pennington. Long throw. It takes Crone off the bag. Doesn't get the tag on. He tried to sweep the tag on Bryant, but he is safe at first base. Well, Pennington made a very good stop on it, but not a good throw. And they have a 1-out base runner.
Yeah, it's a pretty good range by Pennington on the backhand, but not a lot on the throw as far as location of the throw over to C.J. Crone at first base. See the frustration a little bit by him, but showing that good range, good hands to be able to get to that baseball. See, all in the outfield grass tried to plant, but then the throw sails towards the first base line, and Crone unable to make the tag.
They're going to give Bryant a hit on it. So here is Anthony Rizzo, and he flied out to left his first time up, takes that pitch, and that's a little bit low for a ball. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Rizzo is a good low fastball hitter, and a guy who had 32 homers last year, drove in 100 runs, and certainly one of the core players for the
Well, that smile on his face when that last out recorded, when you think about it, he was one of the core players that were around when the Cubs were not real good. The whole rebuilding process, and to be there last out to win the World Series for Chicago had to be an unbelievable feeling for him.
Rizzo got off to a very slow start last year with the Cubs, but then he got back to his normal solid production. Was fooled on that off-speed pitch there, and the count's 2-1. So it's 2 balls and a strike. We're told that Albert Almora Jr. left the ball game. He was the starting center fielder, but he never batted when it was his first time up, and he left the game with some left calf soreness. So he played the field in the first inning, but did not bat. And Hanneman is the center fielder for the Cubs now. 2-2 is the count on Rizzo. Beautiful day today here in the Valley. When we got started, 66 degrees. The pitch, that's hit the opposite way, and it's going to drop into left center for a base hit. So back-to-back one-out hits, Bryan and Rizzo. And fans, don't forget, join the Angels all season long and enjoy post-game Saturday night fireworks shows presented by Wells Fargo. For more info on the Saturday night fireworks, visit angels.com/promotions.
Pitch a little bit elevated for Chavez against Rizzo. He stayed back and they hit the ball hard to left field. Ideally, when you're throwing a two-seam fastball, you're trying to go to the outside part of the plate. You want to keep it down. It's very difficult to square that up well, but when it's elevated, you're able to do so as a hitter, and that's exactly what Rizzo did.
Angels have some action in the bullpen, and they have a left-hander warming up. Here is Zobrist batting now, and the first pitch, he takes it. It's right in there for a called strike. Angels have a couple of lefty relievers available today, Cody Iggy and Greg Malley. Here's the pitch, a little pop into shallow center. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Going into third is Bryan. He'll be waved home. Moving first to third is Rizzo. He gets there without a throw. It's a bloop RBI single by Zobrist. Seems like that guy's made a living doing things like that. And the score now 3-2 Angels.
Mike Socha's going to go to the bullpen, bring a lefty, but going back to Zobrist, though, he just stays back on the ball. He doesn't chase a lot of pitches out of the strike zone, just try to put it in play and use the middle of the field and gets a base hit and an RBI out of it.
So the Angels will be bringing in Iggy. He's the pitcher who is up in the bullpen right now. We have a break in the action. When we get back, the Cubs are still batting. They've scored a run in the inning. They have runners at the corners with one out. Angels have a 3-2 lead here on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. New pitcher for the Angels is Cody Iggy, and this will be his fourth appearance this spring. And just kind of looking at the Angels spring numbers, he will be the first pitcher to appear in 4 games so far this spring for the Halos. So the batter will be Hayward, who homered his first hit this spring, and the home run came leading off last inning. Lefty-lefty matchup. Numbers on Chavez right now. He went 2 1/3 innings, and he allowed 7 hits right now 2 runs earned, 2 on base his property, no walks, 3 strikeouts. He gave up the home run to Hayward. So Iggy trying to get the final 2 outs in this inning and see if the Angels can hold on to the 1-run lead. The first pitch, that's way low and outside. 1-0 the count.
Yeah, these are those moments for Iggy that, you know, when Mike Scioscia brings him in against a very good, talented left-handed batter. This is the guy you got to try to neutralize, especially if you can throw your breaking ball early in the count for strikes and then finish off, get expand the zone.
Here's the next pitch, and that's a little bit low. 2-0 the count. The catcher Maldonado is going to walk the baseball back. Iggy is not on the Angels 40-man roster, taken off the roster during the offseason, so he's fighting for a spot on the Angels pitching staff. When he saw action for the Angels last year, the numbers were good in 13 games, all in relief. His ERA was 1.04 with the Angels. Spent a little bit of time with Miami last year. And the 2-0. Hayward tries to check on that one, went around. 2-1 the count.
Good pitch, especially in a fastball count. You have a hitter who homered his first at bat, looking to try to drive something in the air. He went away on an off-speed pitch and got him to chase something out of his strike zone.
Here's the next delivery, and that is cut on and missed. So he's come back to level the count. 2-2 on Hayward.
Got to try the exact same pitch again, see if he can expand the zone and get a swing and miss.
Yeah, Hayward did not look good on that last swing here. Not a real comfortable swing against the lefty. And the 2-2, he reached it, that one, fouls it off on the left side, backing out of play.
Probably a little bit too much of the strike zone for Iggy on that pitch.
Chicago Cubs, the World Series champions a year ago. They hadn't been to the World Series since 1945, but they won the whole thing last year. Won in 7 games over the Indians. Here's the pitch, and that one is popped up, foul, third base side. Marte has a play and holds on, makes the grab right near the coaching box. So that's a big out right there. It's out number 2.
That was a really good World Series last year. A lot of energy, a lot of ups and downs for both clubs. The whole postseason in general was really, really good. But that World Series, especially that Game 7.
Phenomenal Game 7. Really one of the best ever in Major League history. And there were some people throughout that World Series, and certainly in the last few games of the World Series, they were really doubting Joe Madden as far as the game management. But the bottom line is, I told people during the offseason, they won it. So you can criticize anything you want, but the bottom line was they won the World Series. There's a pitch that is cut on by Contreras for strike 1.
It certainly wasn't easy for him to get to that World Series. I mean, think about that series they had against the San Francisco Giants. You know, it came back to they did in Game 4 in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
So nothing was easy for Chicago last year. It took them a long, long time to win that World Series, but they finally did so.
Yeah, well, it took them 71 years just to get back to the World Series, and then they won it, and people were still doing a lot of second guessing. There's a pitch that's missed, and the count 0-2. But Joe Madden last year really stuck with Aroldis Chapman. And
he had a few words to say about that when he re-signed with the Yankees. He said he thought he might have been used a little bit longer than he hoped for. But you know, when you saw that throughout the playoffs, relievers, they weren't wanting pitchers anymore. They were multiple innings.
Right. 0-2 the count. 2 outs. Angels up 3-2 here in the third. The pitch that's bounced by the mound out near second base, skips off the glove of Pennington. A run will score, and the inning continues, and now it's a 3-3 ball game. So Pennington going to his left on that one, and he had the Contreras running. He's one of their catchers. He's DHing today. He might have had a shot at him there, but he never came up with that ball cleanly. And that's going to be an error on Pennington.
Yeah, playing in the hole, but he still has to go towards the middle. But a play that you're always going to see Cliff Pennington make. A little bit of a tricky hop there and unable to feel that right away. And get himself into throwing position. Allow the Chicago to tie the game up.
So runners at first and second. They've scored 2 in the inning to tie it up. And here's the next pitch. That's low. It misses outside. Let's pause for stations to identify themselves on the Angels Baseball Radio Network. Terry Smith, Mark Gubasan, our producer engineer Jorge Sevilla with you here at Tempe Diablo. 3-3 game, Angels and Cubs. There's a cut and a miss by Kawasaki. And it's 1-1 on him. He singled his first time up, getting the start for them at shortstop. Addison Russell, their everyday shortstop, with a little bit of a injury issue, not here today. And the pitch, a little pop hit right to second at Espinosa, and that will end the inning. Danny didn't have to move at all on that one. The soft liner will wrap up the Cubs third, but they do send 7 to the plate, score 2, leave 2 on base, and as we are moving to the bottom of the third, we're deadlocked at 3 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Here in the bottom of the third, the Angels will face a new Cubs pitcher. So Eddie Butler comes into the ball game. He pitched a bit for the Rockies last year. Cubs got him in a deal with Colorado last month, former first-round pick of the Rockies. So Butler is the new pitcher. We'll give you Arrieta's numbers in just a moment. Batter is Mike Trout. First pitch, it is taken for a ball. Butler has a good arm. He's topped out at 99 with that fastball. Has a good slider and a good changeup. He'll throw a curve as well. And the next pitch, Trout hits a high fly ball into right center, but it's hanging up for Hayward, and he will camp under and make the grab. That's the first out. Danny Espinosa will bat. Arrieta worked 2 innings. He gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. And along the way, did not walk any, struck out 1, hit a batter, and gave up the Marte homer.
2 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs.
So here's Espinosa. Strikeout is first at bat. And the pitch, cut and a miss for strike 1. Butler appearing in his second game. He made a start earlier this spring for the Cubs. Got a win in that game, going 2 innings, allowing a hit and a run. And the next pitch, that's taken for a called strike by Espinosa. 0-2 on Danny. Here's the 2-strike pitch. He takes off speed. It's outside.
Boy, between Arrieta and Butler, even Chavez for that matter, the pace that they throw is so important for kids watching at home. If you're a pitcher, the pace. Your defense generally will make a lot of plays behind you because you're working quickly. The same thing you see for Butler here. He doesn't waste a whole lot of time getting that sign and throw the ball home.
2-2 now, the count on Espinosa. C.J. Cron waiting on deck. And here's the 2-2. That's high. A fastball miss. Full count, 3-2. Butler last year, when he was with the Rockies, had trouble with the home run ball. A lot of pitchers do pitching for Colorado, but he gave up 13 in 64 innings, and that's fouled off on the left side, backing out of play. Mentioning the Rockies, of course, their new manager, good friend of ours, your former teammate, Buddy Black.
Yeah, and he switched his number to number 10 for his old manager, late Dick Hauser.
How about that?
When he won the World Championship with Kansas City. Bud Black, number 10
nice
for the Rockies.
Gesture there. Yeah.
It's funny, I saw him just before he was named the manager for the Rockies. I said, hey, anything going on, Blackie? And he goes, well, I don't know. Maybe soon you might hear something. I'm thinking, oh, well, what's going on? Next thing you know, the next day, he's named manager for the Colorado Rockies.
There you go. There's one a little bit low, and that's ball 4. And Espinosa has a 1-out walk, so the Angels have a base runner. Angels have yet to play the Rockies, but the Angels will face them a couple of times next week. A week from this Thursday and a week from this coming Saturday. The Angels will have games against Colorado, so it'll be nice to see Buddy Black again. He was a special assistant to Angels GM Billy Epler last year.
That's a team you got to keep your eye on. I think the Rockies have a chance of being a pretty solid team. They pick up Ian Desmond, who had an amazing year, I thought, for the Rangers.
Yeah.
Then they have some real good young talented pitchers. They're guys that throw hard, swing and miss type pitches that you need to be successful there when you play half your games at Coors Field. They have a chance of being pretty special.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that they have the best offense in baseball. Red Sox are a very good offensive club. But the Rockies, man, you look at that lineup for Colorado, and they are loaded.
And Corey Seager wins, the National League Rookie of the Year, but Story, before he hurt himself, was in that running with him, and he had some tremendous power numbers.
Yeah. 0-1 is the count on Cron. And there's a toss over to first base, and Espinosa gets back. Espinosa can run a little bit. He had 9 stolen bases last season, so he'll kind of pick his spots over there when he gets on base. Cron waiting patiently on Butler, who's slowed it down a little bit now as he works from the stretch. Here's the next pitch. Cron with a shot through on the right side. That ball's going to roll down the right side, breaking for third, and getting there safely will be Espinosa. It's a base hit for Cron, his first hit today. The Angels have something brewing. Runners at first and third, 1 out for Jeffrey Marte.
Yeah, real good piece of hitting there by C.J. Cron, going the other way, let that baseball travel a little deeper in the strike zone, hit the ball well. But as a runner, anything hit the right field with Hayward out there, you better be going quickly and cut that angle going around second base. I think Espinosa did to be able to get to go first to third on Hayward in right field.
So the next batter is Marte, who homered his first time up. That was against Arrieta in the bottom of the second. Fly ball here, deep enough to the outfield, would give the Angels the lead. Butler working from the stretch. Angels with 6 hits now in the game. And here's the pitch. That's taken. It's right in there, called strike.
I mean, Marte had a solid season with that power swing last year. 2 home runs already this spring. He's going to make it a difficult decision for the Angels not to have him on the 25-man roster.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be on it. Next pitch he takes, that's in there for a strike. Marte played a little bit of winter ball in the Dominican this past winter. But 15 home runs with the Angels last year and only 258 at bats. Here's the next pitch, and that one is a little bit low. You project his numbers, he would You know, if he got a full season of at-bats, he would have been a 30-plus home run guy. Now, you can make those projections. You don't always know if they're going to come true, but he was on pace to do something like that a year ago had he played every day.
Made pretty good adjustments on breaking balls, too, as the season progressed.
There goes the runner at first, and the throw to second, breaking for the plate, and coming in and scoring on the throw to second base will be Espinosa, and the Angels with a double steal home. Well, Mike Scioscia, I'm sure, matching wits with Joe Madden today, and the Angels are up 4-3.
Yeah, good jump there, too, by Cronin, and a better read for Espinosa going home. You know, Ron Renicky said today, we were talking about that a little bit before during batting practice today, how he likes the speed this team has and the things they're going to be able to create opportunities to be able to score more runs than last year.
So here's the 2-2, and that one is lined into left field. That's going to drop in for a base hit, and that's going to score another run as Cron comes in. And Marte has driven in his second run of the day. It's now 5-3 Angels.
Again, another good swing from Marte. Stays back on the baseball well, shoots it in left field for second RBI. Solo shot his first at bat. And trying to go inside. He's doing a real nice job as far as bringing his hands inside to be able to clear the hips open, to be able to drive that baseball hard to left field. See, you've seen a lot of breaking balls early in the count, and then they're trying to sneak fastballs in on him. Generally, he's looking fastball in early. They're pitching him backwards, and he's making him pay for it so far.
So here is the catcher Maldonado, and the first one misses, ball one on him. He's singled and scored a run so far today. Angels offense picking up today. Last couple of games, the Angels didn't do a whole lot offensively. Back-to-back losses the past two games to the White Sox and the Reds. The Angels had scored a total of 5 runs in those two games, have 5 runs already today in less than 3 full innings. 2-0 is the count on Maldonado.
This is a time, too, in spring training where Mike Scioscia will be able to get an opportunity to see how well Maldonado handles the bat in case you put Marte in motion at some point during this at bat.
And the pitch, the bat breaks. The ball's grounded to short. They flip to second for 1. Relay to first. It is in time. And that double play is going to end the inning. So a broken bat double play ball will wrap things up here for the Angels in the third. But a pair of runs in the inning, a couple of hits, and as it turns out, no one left on base. 3 in the books. The 4th is next. Angels back on top, leading 5-3 against the Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Angels will use pitcher number 3 of the day as Andrew Bailey will be taking over for Cody Iggy. Iggy got the final 2 outs last inning, did not allow any hits or runs. And now we'll see Andrew Bailey, whose role in the Angel bullpen becomes a little bit more prominent now as a result of the injury to Houston Street. You would have to say, Mark, that Andrew Bailey and Cam Bedrosian will be in a 2-man fight to see who becomes the opening day closer.
And Bailey did a real good job last year for the Angels.
Here's his first pitch on Corcoran, and he takes it for a ball. The count 1 ball, no strikes. Bailey is pitching for the 2nd time this spring. He has 1 scoreless inning of relief. Here's the next pitch on Corcoran. A little shot into right field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Didn't hit it very deep at all, but a single, and the Cubs keep on getting hits in this ball game. That is their 8th already today. The batter now will be Jacob Hanneman. Hanneman struck out his first time up. Andrew Bailey, good sinking fastball, a cutter, and a changeup. Did a nice job in his 12 appearances with the Angels a year ago. Was 6 for 6 in save situations. And here's the first one. That one pops out of the mid of Maldonado, but the base runner does not advance. Corcoran holding on over there at first base. 1-0 the count.
It looked like that he was waiting for that ball to be able to sink action on there, and it stayed up in the strikes and off the glove of Maldonado. Yeah, and health is always the thing with Andrew Bailey. When he's healthy, he's been very successful. When he hasn't been, hasn't been able to get that zip on the fastball to set up his cutter.
Next delivery, it's fouled back behind the plate. So the count 1-1. Bailey has had a lot of shoulder problems in his big league career, and he had Tommy John elbow surgery very early in his career in 2005. He's recovered from that, but the shoulder's been the big issue for him in recent years. Here's the next pitch. That's low, and it's a 2-1 count. Bailey, a former All-Star a couple of times in his career, Rookie of the Year when he was with Oakland back in 2009. Two balls and 1 strike on Jacob Hanneman. Here's the next one. He cuts and misses. That one does the left-handed batter, and the count level. It's now 2-2.
Great location in that pitch too from Bailey. Cut action down underneath the hands.
So 2 balls and 2 strikes on Hanneman. And the next delivery, that's low and inside, so the count runs full. It's now 3 balls, 2 strikes. After Hanneman, they'll turn it back to the top of the batting order, and Schwarber is in the on-deck circle for another at-bat. There goes the runner at first. The pitch is high, and that is ball 4. So the first 2 on safely for the Cubs to start things off here in the 4th inning. Fans, don't forget to join the Angels for spring training here at Tempe Diablo Stadium. March the 24th, the Angels will take on the Seattle Mariners. Fans will enjoy a post-game concert by Gavin DeGraw. You can visit angels.com/promotions to purchase your tickets. And that game on the 24th of March here at Tempe Diablo Stadium will start at 5:10 local time. We're going to play under the lights a little bit for that ball game.
And then you're going to be rocking out after the game, aren't you,
That's right. Yes, indeed. Wouldn't miss the post-game concert. Here's the pitch. That's right in there. A called strike on Schwarber. Line out and strikeout so far today. Schwarber's had only 1 hit this spring. He's a guy, if he hits it on the ground, a chance to double him up. And the next pitch, he hit it on the ground foul over on the first base side. So 0-2 the count.
Pretty good indication how quick his hands are. Schwarber, inside part of the plate. The bat head out, pulls it almost into the dugout of the Angels.
Schwarber really burst onto the scene with the Cubs a couple of years ago in 2015. He hit 16 home runs in his first 52 games that year with the Cubs. Coming up from the minors, he takes that pitch for a ball. It's 1-2. Former first-round pick of the Cubs back in 2014. Fourth player selected in that draft. And he got to the big leagues quickly. Left-handed batter, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bailey shaking off Maldonado as they try to get on the same page here. It's 5-3 Angels. We're in the 4th inning. Cubs have a threat with no outs, 2 on. Next pitch off speed and missed. Low, 2-2.
It's always good to see when you're a pitcher and you have a catcher to be able to block a pitch like that in the dirt. That comfort zone to be able to throw that breaking ball, try to get the hitter to swing and miss at it, and still not worry about a wild pitch. Blocked very well by Maldonado, kept his body squared up. Obviously, when you have Mike Scioscia around all the time, you guys are always, as catchers, are always working on that craft as far as keeping that baseball in front of you.
Kyle Schwarber, originally a catcher and converted to corner outfield. Here's the 2-2. He chops that one foul on the first base side. So the battle continues here. The count stays 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, there's a number of American League clubs that were talking and inquiring about him during the offseason. When you have talent and he can swing the bat like that, you would think he's best suited potentially down the road for an American League club if the Chicago Cubs ever decide they want to add some pitching depth or something like that, because he can flat out hit.
And just 24 years old. Bailey taking a little time between pitches. Now he appears to be ready. Takes a look at second. 2-2. And that's inside. It's a full count. 3-2. After Schwarber, it doesn't get any easier with Bryant waiting on deck, and then Rizzo and Zobrist. So full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. The next delivery drilled down the right field side, but he pulls that one foul. He hit it hard, jumped all over that pitch, but a foul ball.
Looking fastball, got a fastball, but it's a little bit out in front. You know, this is the time of the year for pitchers where you're trying to get a feel for your secondary pitches. Fastball, you kind of feel pretty good about that coming into camp. You know, you're going to pick up velocity on your fastball as you progress and throw more, but it's the feel for your secondary pitches that kind of take a little bit more time than normal than you would see during the regular season.
Bailey's ready. Another 3-2, and that one is ball 4. So Andrew Bailey hasn't gotten anyone out. Runners everywhere. Second batter he's walked out of the 3 he's faced. The other one has a single. And now a dangerous hitter in this situation, Chris Bryant, getting ready to bat, and he's already had a pair of hits today, a couple of singles.
One of the situations where you'll give up a run for a double play ball here.
So Bryant, big right-handed batter with excellent power, digs in here against Bailey. Andrews' pitch. This is tapped back near the mound, fumbles the ball, shovels it to the plate for the force out there on Corcoran. So Bailey gets an out, and he gets it at the plate. Bases still loaded. That had a shot to be a 1-2-3 double play ball, but at least Bailey was able to recover after he fumbled the ball.
It's one of those plays, though, as a pitcher. There's spin on that baseball because it's an off-speed pitch. He's out in front. It's off the end towards the end of the bat, so there's different spin on it. It's very difficult to have that normally go into your glove to be able to be quick on the transfer to throw home, to be able to have that chance at a 1-2-3 double play. I think the bottom line is getting that out at home was the most important thing with that spin on the baseball.
So they're still loaded now, 1 out. And to get a guy like Bryant to bounce one back to the mound, it's doing your job, no doubt about it. So here is Rizzo, who's had a 1-for-2 game, and the first pitch, the left-handed batter swings and misses that breaking pitch, and the count 0-1.
Boy, Bryant and Rizzo were busy during the offseason and spending time on all the late-night talk shows.
Yeah, and I think didn't some of the Cubs players appear on Saturday Night Live, if I'm not mistaken,
so.
in the offseason? Yeah. 1 strike is the count, and here's the next pitch. Big cut and a miss, 0-2.
That's great location of a fastball. Again, when you're facing a power hitter, a very good low ball hitter, run that fastball up and in, and that was a perfect spot by Bailey against Rizzo. Great location. Great target set and hit by Andrew Bailey.
So Bailey, in a situation where he has to throw strikes, and he has struggled with his command in this inning, is way in front on Rizzo. 0-2 pitch, and he had him chasing that one, struck him out. Boy, that was an off-speed pitch right there that really fooled Bryant.
Well, you talk about difference in location from the pitch before, an up and in fastball followed by an off-speed pitch in the dirt, going down and away. Great pitch by Bailey. Going to different quadrants of the strike zone and beyond the strike zone to be able to get a swing and miss against a very dangerous RBI producer in Anthony Rizzo.
So let's see if he can get out of this. He is getting close to doing just that. 2 outs now. They had him loaded with nobody out. Now 2 gone. They're still loaded. Zobrist is the batter, and he cuts and misses that pitch for strike 1.
Zobrist generally a pretty patient first pitch hitter. And he was guessing and looking for fastball. Got an off-speed pitch there from Bailey, but he was ready to go. Normally he's tracking the baseball. He was anticipating a fastball to drive.
Here's the 0-1 on Zobrist. And he takes that one low. Zobrist had 96 walks last year, so he will force you to throw strikes. He's a guy in situations like this. He scares you to death. He is a clutch hitter, this guy.
And a guy that puts the ball in play. And you mentioned patient. They're the most difficult guys to face if you're a pitcher. You want a guy that's a free swinger. Even if he has power, he'll chase.
And there's one that he waves and misses. And boy, Bailey has the off-speed stuff working now.
And you got to credit Maldonado if indeed Bailey can get through this, especially when you're wild. You have a walk there, a couple 3-2 counts, and then you're facing this part of the order. Catcher, very, very important, especially a guy that can frame pitches like he can.
So here's the 1-2 delivery, and he misses up and in. Zobrist is a switch hitter. He's probably a better hitter right-handed. And he digs in here from the left side against Andrew Bailey.
Yeah, you would think he threw that little off-speed pitch going down and away. After that up and in fastball, very similar to the sequence he threw against Anthony Rizzo for Bailey. So if you're out there in left field, if you're Eric Young Jr., you got to be ready to make a play in left.
Here's the 2-2, and he tried to pick at that outside corner and misses. So now it's a full count. And the patient hitter Zobrist running a full count here against Bailey. If Zobrist keeps the inning alive, Hayward waiting on deck. 25 pitch inning here for Bailey. This has been a stressful inning, and he's trying to get out of it without allowing any runs. We'll see what breaks here with 2 outs. The 3-2 pitch, and he walked him. It missed low and outside. Well, Zobrist is such a good patient hitter. And Mike Scioscia is headed out to the mound, and We very well could be seeing a pitching change here.
And when you're patient at the plate, you get those borderline calls, especially when you're perceived to have that real good eye that Zobrist has. And that was a pretty close pitch, but not quite in the strike zone.
So sure enough, move to the bullpen. When we get back, it's a 5-4 Angels lead. As far as the Cubs, they'll still have them loaded when we return. We'll see who's coming in from the bullpen. We'll let you know when we get back here on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Is the new pitcher for the Angels. We saw his brother face the Angels yesterday, Tyler Mahle, for the Cincinnati Reds. And now here's Greg Mahle trying to slam the door shut here as he faces Jason Hayward. The bases are loaded. A run is in, 2 outs, and it'll be a lefty-lefty matchup.
There certainly has been some base runners in this game so far.
Wow, you got that right. 4th appearance for Mahle this spring. He has a save. Just an inning and 2/3. No hits allowed, no runs. And the first one is right in there on Hayward for a strike. For Mahle, these are the situations he needs to be productive. Lefty-lefty matchups.
That first pitch always so important as you're a left-handed reliever coming in and facing a very good left-handed batter.
And the next pitch, Hayward taking that one low. So let's give you the numbers on Bailey at the moment. 2/3 of an inning. He allowed 1 hit. He walked 3, struck out 1, and allowed a run. All the runners on base is property. And the next pitch, it's popped up foul on the left side. And running out of room is the third baseman, Marte. So the count moves to 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mahle is already the 4th Angels pitcher in this game, and we're only in the top of the 4th inning. Iggy went 2/3 of an inning. Bailey 2/3 of an inning. And Mahle facing his first batter. He's set next pitch, and just getting a piece of that one is Hayward. He foul tipped it. Stays alive.
Well, Cody, Iggy came in and did a nice job out of the bullpen. Similar situation now. It's up to Mahle to do the same thing here against Hayward.
Iggy and Mahle, the only left-handers slated to see action today, and they're each getting early inning action as it turns out this afternoon. Alex Meyer is slated to pitch today for the Angels, and they're hoping he'll be able to go about 3 innings. Of course, Meyer is in a fight for a starting rotation spot. Counts 1-2 on Hayward, and the next delivery lines one the opposite way. That's trouble. One run will score. A second run comes in, and they'll have runners at second and third on that opposite field line double, and the Cubs are back on top as the game continues to seesaw. They lead it 6-5.
Yeah, it's one of those pitches too for Malley. You have to try to get down and maybe even out of the strike zone against Hayward. He did a nice job of staying back on it. You could stay and hit the ball the other way as a left-handed batter against a left-handed pitcher. If it's elevated, stay back on it. It's an RBI, 2 RBI double going the other way. But down and away, probably doesn't make that type of contact.
So they have runners at second and third. 2 runs batted in for Hayward, who's driven in 3 of the 6 Cubs runs. And keep in mind, he hadn't had a hit all spring coming into this game. The batter now is Contreras. That pitch is in there for a strike. The 2 runs that just came in on that Hayward 2-run hit, those runs go against Bailey. Contreras is the 8th batter in the inning, and the next delivery, and that's low, so it's a 1-1 count. The Angels have had a pair of 2-run leads disappear today, and still a lot of baseball left in this one. We're only in the top of the 4th inning. Next pitch, low.
Boy, if you're Chicago, though, you got to be real happy what you're seeing from Hayward today. A home run to right field, double to left field. We talked about that in the beginning, his adjustment with his swing. Hadn't had a lot of success so far, but today have to be happy to be able to hit the ball as hard as he hit to both sides of the field.
Here's the 2-1 delivery, and that one is high, and Malley kind of stumbled a little bit delivering that pitch. The count goes to 3 balls and 1 strike. Yeah, Jason Hayward is a guy the Cubs have a lot of money invested in, and last season he hit only .230. The count is 3-1 here on Contreras. Kawasaki waiting on deck. Malley has the sign. We'll see what happens on the next pitch, and here it comes. That one misses, ball 4. It was low. Boy, another walk given up by the Angels here in this inning, and once again the base is loaded for the Cubs. The Angels have walked 4 batters in this inning. Kawasaki has a single. He's also lined out. He's trying to win a spot as a reserve on the Cubs roster, and the pitch. He lines one into left center. That's going to fall in, and it's going to drive in at least 2. They have another runner headed for third being waved home. They've already scored twice. They're going to score 3 on that one. He clears the bases with a 3-run double, and now it's 9-5 Cubs. So this has been a tough inning for the Angels. The Cubs lead growing. It's now 9-5.
Yeah, Kawasaki did a nice job of this, staying back, just trying to use the middle part to the other way of the field, is staying back on that fastball from Malley, and just drives that ball to the gap in left center field, driving in all 3 runs. And nice quiet hands, good approach at the plate.
So they have their 10th batter in the inning stepping up, and that is Corcoran, who led this inning off. He's batting for the 2nd time. He's already had a hit in this inning. Here's the pitch. That is low and inside for a ball. Tough time here for Malley coming in, replacing Andrew Bailey. Here's the next pitch. That's on the outside part of the plate. That's a called strike.
Especially an opportunity against 2 left-handed batters. both with hits going the other way against Mahle.
Andrew Bailey, the first reliever in this inning for the Angels, allowed 4 runs, all earned in just 2/3 of an inning. Mahle has given up a couple of earned runs since coming in. He hasn't retired any of the 3s faced. He's allowed 2 hits and a walk. Count on Corcoran now is 1 ball, 2 strikes. 6-run inning for the Cubs. It's not over yet. Mahle's 1-2, popped foul on the right side. It's backing out of play.
Here's the pitching line on Bailey. 2/3 of inning, 1 hit, 4 runs that were earned, 3 walks, 1 strikeout.
Infield continues to play it back with 2 outs.
4 runs that were earned, 3 walks, 1 strikeout.
This is the 5th batter that has stepped up to the plate with 2 outs here in this inning. So the Angels just can't get the final out. Mahle's thrown 15 pitches since replacing Bailey. And he's ready to come in with another one. It's on its way, and it's lined into left center. That's going to drop in, and that's going to drive in another run. Coming in and scoring will be Kawasaki. 2nd hit in the inning for Corcoran. This one drives in a run, and the lead continues to grow for the Cubs. They're up 10-5.
Yeah, we talked about how successful, obviously, win the World Series in Chicago. But they were very patient at the plate. They were amongst the leaders as far as working walks. They've had 4 already in this inning, and they've capitalized. And when you've made a mistake, brought any pitches towards the middle of the plate, they've used the middle of the field and been successful as far as driving in runs.
So here's Hanneman, who's had a walk in this inning. He scored a run in the inning. Here's the pitch, and that one is taken for strike 1. A 7-run inning for Chicago. Here's the next pitch. That's low. Good block on that one by Martin Maldonado. Seven runs scored by 7 different Cubs players in this inning, and that one is low, and now the count's 2 balls and 1 strike.
You're missing by quite a bit. You miss off the inside corner and you miss off the outside corner. Pretty much that means when you're a pitcher, you miss that much on both sides of the plate. It's location and the arm delivery. Not hitting that same exact spot as far as repeating your mechanics.
There's a pitch that's taken for a called strike. Came in with a breaking ball, so it's 2-2 on Jacob Hanneman. The last 2 games in Cactus League play, the Angels had allowed 10 runs and 11 runs, and now 10 more allowed here today, and we're only in the 4th inning. Here's the next pitch, and trying to hold up, going around on that one is Hanneman. Struck him out, and the inning finally comes to an end. And not before the Cubs score 7 in the inning, and they will take a 10-5 lead to the bottom of the 4th on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Cliff Pennington will lead it off. We kind of wondered if the Angels were ever going to bat in the 4th inning. Well, the time has arrived, and let's see if the Angels can get back in this game as Pennington takes the first pitch, and that one is in there. Eddie Butler, who the Angels did score a couple runs against last inning, is still pitching, and the next pitch that's fouled back behind the plate. That was a long top of the 4th.
Yeah, a few pitches thrown. But I can feel for that a little bit. I used to work some counts and walk some batters back in the day.
Here's the pitch on its way, and that one is low and outside. 1-2.
You certainly don't try to walk batters.
No.
It just happens.
Yeah, the top of the inning, the Cubs getting the 7 runs. They had only 4 hits, but there were 4 walks, and all 4 of those batters who walked scored. Here's one that's fouled off on the left side, backing out of play.
I remember back in the day, the old Metrodome. They used to have these little ghosts go around. Walks will haunt. Well, walks haunted there.
Well, no doubt about it.
The beautiful Metrodome.
Here's the next pitch, and that one is low and inside. 2-2 is the count. Yep, we don't have to go to the Metrodome anymore. Thank goodness.
No.
Here's the next delivery, and that is waved at and missed, and Pennington is a strikeout victim. And that's the first one in the ball game for Eddie Butler. So 1 away here in the Angels' 4th.
As you recall, there was a little like a screen of some kind way up in the left field above the bleachers there, and this little ghost would go by every time a walk would happen. And he said walks will haunt, and of course it always did it. Well, that was a great hitter's yard, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Quick infield, short dimensions for home runs, so they did haunt you.
Here's a bouncing ball hit right to second. It's bobbled there by Zobrist, and Zobrist on that play ends up holding on to the ball. The bobble cost them even a chance to throw to first base, and Eric Young Jr., who can run, will reach on an error. That was a very easy play for Zobrist, but the Cubs commit their 2nd error here in the early going. Angels have a base runner. And here is Escobar getting ready to bat. The Angels' leadoff man is DHing today.
He's hit the ball hard twice. And a base hit and almost had a 2nd hit. But Zobrist made a real nice play on that one when Eric Young Jr. was going on the play.
Here's the pitch on Unell, and that is low and away. Escobar wears the number 0 on his uniform. 34-year-old Angels third baseman, but the DH today. And he asks for time as he steps out of the batter's box. Escobar will be a free agent at the end of the season, and the pitch, he takes that one low. So the count's 2 balls and no strikes. Infield at double play depth. 2-0 pitch on Escobar, and he takes that one low, ball 3. It's now 3 balls and no strikes. Escobar doesn't walk a whole lot, but he has worked a 3-0 count here.
Yeah, he's generally very aggressive early in the count, but he's still, even when he's behind in the count, he fights off some pretty good pitches, and he still always puts the ball in play. Not a lot of strikeouts.
And the next delivery, he's taking that one. It's in there for a called strike.
And as a team, not a lot of strikeouts. The Angels put the ball in play, force the defense to make plays behind them.
Cole Calhoun waiting on deck, and then Mike Trout would follow here in the inning. 1 out, 1 on. 10-5 Cubs here, bottom of the 4th. There goes the runner. The pitch is low, and that's going to be ball 4. So Escobar has a walk. Angels have a pair on. And we'll see what Cole Calhoun can do here. He's had a hit and a line out. He's hit the ball hard a couple of times so far today. Cole Calhoun, 18 homers a year ago for the Angels, set career highs in a number of departments last year: doubles, runs, walks, on base percentage, extra base hits. And here's the pitch, and that one pitch that he checks on and misses, ball one.
Generally, when you look at numbers for Cole, the best success he has is usually that first or second pitch. He's usually very aggressive, but he has good success in those first couple pitches of an at bat.
So he's up 1 ball, no strikes here on Eddie Butler. Things quiet right now in the Cubs bullpen down the left field side. Calhoun steps out of the batter's box. Time was called. Now they're both set, pitcher and hitter, and here it comes. It's tipped foul near the plate, and the count 1-1. Light breeze, not a big factor today. It is blowing out. Weather is supposed to really heat up later on this week here in the valley. Could hit the 90s maybe by the weekend. Game time today 66, but bright sunshine. Here's the next pitch, and Calhoun, a liner, hits right off the glove of the pitcher. The ball's loose in front of second base, and scooping it up is Kawasaki to throw out Cole Calhoun. That ball was hit so sharply back to the mound it knocked the glove right off of Butler's hand, but they end up getting an out on the play.
It's a pretty good reaction by Kawasaki to be able to come in and make that play after that line drive knocks his glove off. Cole stayed back on this one well. Fastball, middle part of the plate, but down, lines it up the middle. Butler puts the glove out there and it knocks it right off, but great reaction. As you see, the defensive alignment there for the Cubs is Kawasaki came in and reacted that one quickly and throws out Cole at first base.
So that'll be a 1-6-3 ground out.
But Cole did everything well on that swing.
Oh yeah, couldn't have hit the ball
back
harder.
on the well, lines it back up the middle.
So now Trout will bat. The Angels have him at second and third, 2 outs. Base hit would probably mean a couple runs. Trout's hit a couple of fly balls to Hayward today in right field. And here's the pitch on Mike. He takes it for a ball. Coming into today's game, Trout had just 6 official at bats this spring, but a few more plate appearances. He has picked up a lot of walks here in the early going. And here's the pitch. He takes that one, and it's in there for a strike. 1-1. Earlier today here at Tempe Diablo Stadium before the ball game, we saw Albert Pujols take some batting practice. He was running the bases today. And here's the pitch. That one is low. And Mike Scioscia indicated that if everything goes according to schedule, Pujols will likely play in some Cactus League games later on this week.
He's amazing as far as his recovery from injuries and surgeries that he's had. He always is trying to get as many at bats as he can in spring training to make sure that timing is there for when the season starts. And if everything goes well, it looks like he has a real good shot at being ready again to start the season.
Yeah, sure does. Cam Bedrosian was slated to face some hitters today, and he could be close to seeing his first action in the Cactus League for the Angels. Here's the next pitch on Trout, and that one misses for a ball.
And Luis Valbuena looks like he'll be ready to go again pretty soon. And there was talk about maybe Saturday be back, but Mike Scioscia said maybe even beforehand as far as dealing with that leg problem he has.
Yep. Garrett Richards was feeling good after his start yesterday. Here's a ball hit sharply, but right to second. Going down to stop it is Zobrist. He'll throw out Trout, and the Angels will leave a couple on at second and third. So in the inning, no runs or hits, an error or a walk, and the Angels leave a pair. The 5th inning is coming up, and right now, Cubs doubling up the Angels 10-5 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Angel fans and runners, join us on April the 22nd for the Angels 5K and Family Fun Run. It's presented by St. Joseph Hoag Health. Participants get a t-shirt, a medal, a ticket voucher for a select 2017 Angel home game. Proceeds benefit the Angels Baseball Foundation. So as we get ready to start the 5th inning, pitcher number 5 of the day enters for the Angels, Alex Meyer, as he takes over for Greg Malley. Malley got the final out last inning, but he gave up 3 hits along the way. Walked a batter, struck out a batter, and gave up 3 earned runs. So Meyer is the new pitcher, and this will be his 2nd appearance this spring. He has 2 hitless and scoreless innings so far, and the Angels are thinking he might work 3 innings today, depending on the number of pitches. He faces Schwarber, and the first pitch on him, a ball. 1-0 the count.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the little difference as far as mechanics. The abbreviated stretch position here for the full windup. Is able to go to the side with his foot, but still be able to maintain his mechanics and not overthrow.
There's a fly ball that's lifted high, and it's hit deep out there in center field. Trout is back, jumps up, and Mike Trout can't make the catch. The ball is off the wall, going into third base, and getting there with a stand-up triple is Schwarber. And they'll take him out for a pinch runner. Boy, that one came close to getting out there in dead center field. It was hit out near the 420 sign.
Yeah, it's a fastball, middle part of the plate, down in a perfect zone for a left-handed batter, especially with that type of power. Gets it just past Trout in dead center field. The baseball carrying very well here at Tempe Diablo Stadium today.
So the pinch runner for Schwarber is Ian Happ.
Number 86, Ian Happ, pinch running from the third base.
So Schwarber's day is done. He was their left fielder today. And Happ, who comes in to run for him as an infielder, so not sure if he'll be the guy replacing him in left. In any case, Chris Bryant is the batter. The Angels have brought the infield in. Cubs are threatening to score again. They lead at 10-5 here in the 5th inning. And here's the pitch. That one is pitch a little bit low. Schwarber came real close to hitting a home run to dead center. One ball, one strike is the count, and the next delivery, that's outside.
And with the difficult sun here, you know, the outfielders were working on that earlier today with fly balls into the sun. Very difficult in this ballpark, and it looked like Trout was really fighting to be able to run that one down in dead center field to try to time that jump.
Meyer hunched over, a long look in for the sign. Bryant's been on base 3 times today, 2 for 3 officially, and he waves and misses that pitch, and the count's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's a pretty good breaking ball from Myers.
Alex Meyer, good sinking fastball. He has been clocked in the past, going back to his days in the Twins organization and national system, reaching triple digits with his fastball. He has a good curveball and a changeup. Count's full now. It's 3-2 on Bryant. So we'll see what happens on the payoff delivery. It's on its way, and it's grounded foul over on the left side. Well, Meyer, Mark, is certainly an intriguing guy if he could ever put things together. I mean, he has some weapons out there, and that phenomenal size of his, but with pitchers his size, the mechanics are always an issue.
And that's why you see the abbreviated windup for him, just to be able to keep it simple for him, to allow him to be able to get his arm in that perfect slot each time, to be consistent with the strike zone.
Here's the 3-2 delivery, and this one is hit on one hop. It's dropped by Marte, picks it back up to third baseman, and he'll throw to first. And on the play, the pinch runner has to hold with that ball hit not too far away from the third base bag. So that's the first out. Bryant retired on a 5-3 ground out. Anthony Rizzo will be the next hitter.
I think when you look at Alex Meyer, you just need some innings and some pitches thrown. As he hasn't really had a season where you see him throwing 180, 200 innings in a season where you can get that arm strength going for him. And you look at what he did last season as far as mechanics, that full windup where he's going through straight up as far as the pitching rubber. A lot more movement in there as compared to on the now in spring training, where the abbreviated windup allows him to be quicker to play, get that arm and that good arm slot, that consistent arm slot to be successful here in the big leagues.
And the first delivery, that's in there for a strike.
You know, you often talk about it like golfers on the PGA Tour. Not many real tall golfers, because a lot can go wrong on that swing on a consistent basis. Same thing as a pitcher, especially when you're 6'9", like Alex is. This those little things when you fly open with that front shoulder, too much movement, it's going to be tough to throw strikes.
There's one a little bit low. He misses on. It's 1-1 on Rizzo. Meyer last year had to fight through some right shoulder issues. Had a shoulder strain, later on some right shoulder tendonitis. Only 25 1/3 innings last year at the big league level. And now the Angels will have a little discussion out at the mound as Maldonado wants to talk things over with Meyer, his pitcher. I want to remind Angel fans, long live the hard-working, the proud, the tenacious, and long live the trucks that are as dependable as the people that drive them. Right now, get a great deal during the Ram Truck Month. One ball, one strike, the count. 10-5 Cubs. The Angels had a pair of two-run leads in this game, 3-1 and 5-3, but not anymore, as that one is ball two. It's 2 balls and 1 strike.
We can just hear the sound of that mitt when Alex Meyer throws that in there to Maldonado, that pop he has. So you know the velocity is there, but you still have to be consistent hitting your spots and throwing strikes.
2-1 delivery, and he gets Rizzo to chase that one. He went down to a knee swinging and missing that pitch. 2-2.
Yeah, he will do that on occasion, a left-handed version of Adrian Beltre, as far as going down to that knee and still be able to drive the baseball so well when you don't have that lower part of your body necessarily to hit the ball a long way on the barrel of the bat.
2-2 pitch, and that one missed outside. Full count, 3-2. Meyer is facing only his third batter, and already he's made 14 pitches in this inning, and that's been kind of an issue with him in the past. Runs up against high pitch counts. Here's the 3-2, and he walks him. It's low and outside. So now runners at first and third. 1 out. Zobrist will be the next batter. They're going to pinch run now for Rizzo. Chris Dominguez will be the base runner as Rizzo's day is done. So here's Zobrist, who's been active here today. He's had a couple of RBIs in the ball game. He scored a run. As Rizzo leaves, he went 1 for 3 today for the Cubs. So did Schwarber, who had that triple that nearly got out to lead off the inning. So a couple of pinch runners on, and the pitch on its way. That's in there for a called strike.
Yeah, it was a much better delivery there from Alex. He kept that front hip and front shoulder in a little bit longer. That last pitch to Rizzo, the hip opens up just like it is with a hitter. That allows the bat to drag through the zone more so. Same thing as a pitcher. He stayed back much better on that delivery to throw that in the strike zone.
Here's the next delivery, and that one is a pitch that misses for a ball. One ball, one strike. Last inning, when the Cubs scored their 7 runs, they sent 11 to the plate. Already had 10 runs, 12 hits in this game, and there's another one that's low and away as Meyer has been missing with some pitches here. He's at 18 now in the inning. Hayward would be up next. Kind of reading Joe Madden's pattern in this game. Looks like their starters, their regular players here today, getting 4 bats, and that'll do it. So if once Zobrist is done with this at bat, he's probably finished for the day.
Seen another patient at bat for Zobrist.
So the count is 3-1 on him as Meyer is ready, and here's the next pitch. Grounded sharply, a fair ball by Crone down the right side. It rolls. This will drive in a run. Headed for second base is Zobrist. They'll have him at second and third, and the lead is growing. It's now 11-5 Cubs. So Zobrist has had a big day today. We'll see if they end up pinch running for him. And Jason Hayward will be the next batter. Charlie Nagy's going to go out to have a word with Alex Meyer. Sure enough, we see Zobrist being taken out for a pinch runner. And let's pause for stations to identify themselves on the Angels Baseball Radio Network. Young. Pinch runner for the Cubs is Chesney Young. The meeting at the mound is over. And here's Hayward as he gets ready for his 4th at bat today. 11-5 Chicago, and they're threatening to get more. Only 1 out in the inning. Here's the pitch, and that one misses outside for a ball.
And a lot of pitches out of the strike zone, missing off the outside corner. A lot of times when you're a young pitcher, you just have to trust the movement on your fastball, throw it towards the middle part of the plate, and then let it run to the outside corner. Very difficult for an umpire to call a strike when it starts moving on the outside part of the plate, because then it's going to end up out of the strike zone.
Next pitch, this is chopped right to Espinosa. He looks the runner back to third, throws to first, and it is in time to get Hayward. So that'll be the second out. Contreras will be the next batter. And fans, don't forget to get your red on. The 20-game flex plan offers a variety of options to choose from. Opening night, premium matchups, and promotional giveaway nights. Buy your flex plan today at angels.com/ticket plan or call 888-796-HALO. So 2 outs in the inning. Here is Wilson Contreras. He's been on base every time up. Today's single. He's reached on an error. He's also walked in the ball game. Young catcher for the Cubs, DHing today, and he takes the first pitch for ball 1. It's 1 ball, no strikes.
Good power, very good catcher, good throwing arm.
He burst onto the scene yesterday last season for the Cubs, and came up from AAA. Very first pitch he saw as a big league batter, he hit a home run on the very first pitch and ended up with 12 of them for the Cubs in just 76 games. He takes ball 2. It's 2-0. Hit 282 for the Cubs last season. Long inning for Meyer. Next pitch will be his 25th in the inning. And the next pitch, and that is on the outside corner, called strike. Here's the 2-1, and that one came close to hitting him. It was kind of around knee level inside, and backing off the plate was Contreras. 3-1 the count. Meyer has not looked sharp here.
Put himself in a lot of hitters counts, being behind. Exactly what happened with Zobrist. 3-1 pitch, came in with a fastball, and he hooked down right down the line for a double.
Next delivery, and that is nowhere close, and he kind of was overthrowing that last pitch, so he's walked another batter. They will be sending up their 7th hitter in the inning. 2 walks in this inning. 2 hits allowed in the inning. Another pinch runner, the 4th in the inning here for the Cubs. Kawasaki will be the batter. And here's the pitch. The first one is a little bit outside, and that's going to get the catcher Maldonado out there to the mound.
Yeah, you can almost say he went right up to his shoulder. He's that front shoulder's flying wide open for him. You just have to try to stay back a little bit longer. The quicker that front shoulder opens up, the more difficult it is to be consistent with your arm slot.
Taylor Davis is the pinch runner over at first base. Kawasaki's had a good day at the plate. He's driven in some runs for them today. He's driven in 3. He's had a pair of hits, scored a run. And the count is level on him. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Meyer with the bases loaded working here. Misses again. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, Terry, one of the best advice I got, especially as a young pitcher, was my pitching coach at Kansas City named Frank Funk. He told me, and it sounds odd, but try easy. Sometimes when you, especially as a young player, young pitcher, you overthrow or you overswing at the plate. You can see at times with Alex, he just tries to overthrow, and it doesn't allow him to be consistent.
Yeah, there's a big cut and a miss at that pitch by Kawasaki. 2-2.
I know it's hard for anybody to say try easy. I mean, because you're always thinking you got to give 100%. But when you try easy, what that tells you to do is don't overthrow. Hit your spot. Allow your mechanics to put you in a position to get the hitter out. If you're flying so fast and you're overthrown, it's very difficult to hit those spots on a consistent basis.
2-2 is the count, and the delivery that is inside. Ball 3, 3-2. Yeah, there is no doubt that Meyer is struggling out there on the mound just to get pitches in the strike zone, and the Angels are starting to get some action in the bullpen. And in the game plan for Meyer today was to maybe go 3 innings, but he's already thrown over 30 pitches in this inning. And the payoff delivery, that's fouled off on the left side, backing out of play, so the count holding 3-2. Well, you hear in baseball, it's kind of like what you were saying, Mark, less is more.
Yeah. And it's hard, especially when you're out there. You know, everyone always says slow down the game, slow down the game. But the harder you try, the worse the results are always going to be. So try easy with something. And it took me a while to realize it and process it, but it really helped me out as far as being more consistent in the strike zone.
3-2 delivery and a check swing. That one is ball 4, so he's walked in a run. That's the 3rd walk he's allowed here in the inning. This has been a trying inning for Meyer, and they will send their 8th batter up. So bases loaded, RBI walk. Kawasaki has driven in 4 runs for them today. And here is Corcoran, the switch hitting catcher, getting ready to bat for the 4th time in the ball game. Dominguez just scored the run on that bases loaded walk. 7 walks already issued by Angels pitching, and we're only in the top of the 5th inning. 12-5. The Cubs on top. The Angels had a 5-3 lead, but the Cubs have scored the last 9 unanswered runs in this game. And there's a cut and a miss by Corcoran. 1-1 is the count. Drew Gagno is up in the Angels bullpen. The right-hander loosening up. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. 1-2 the count. Hanneman would be the next batter, their center fielder. One-two delivery, low and away. 2-2.
Well, Mike Scioscia would probably love to see Alex Meyer to get through this inning and be able to go back out for his second inning, is to build some positives on there, but that pitch count is getting up there so high at this particular point. It's going to be difficult for Mike Scioscia to be able to allow him to go back out for another inning.
So Meyer with the count 2-2 delivers, and it's fouled back behind the plate. Hey, you got to think of the 8 that he's faced in this inning, that he's worked at least a 5-ball count against every one of them. He's walked 3 of them. Meyer having a tough day here in relief. He had pitched a couple of scoreless innings coming into this ball game, and that one is outside, and now another full count. 3-2. If Corcoran were to walk here, that's probably going to be it for Alex Meyer. Andrew Bailey, the second Angel reliever of the day, struggled with his control. He walked 3 2/3 of an inning, and Meyer's already walked 3 in this inning. There's one foul back. Staying alive is Corcoran.
And when you're inconsistent with strikes, hitters just sit back and look for a fastball. You've taken out of the equation as far as a hitter. You're even looking for something off speed, because you're struggling with all your pitches as far as command, and it's much easier to be able to be a hitter at that point where you're just sitting looking fastball, even if you're throwing mid-upper 90s.
So here's the 3-2, and it's fouled off again. The other part of this inning, Meyer with the power arm, he just hasn't been able to get a strikeout here in this inning, and that's a part of his game. When he's going right and pitching effectively, he will pick up strikeouts.
Yeah, and again, going back to a lot of pitches, especially against left-handed batters in this inning, fastballs have just been a little bit off the outside corner. You have to have that trust in yourself to be able to go out and challenge hitters with your fastball.
3-2 pitch again fouled off, so they keep fouling off pitches against them to stay alive.
Yeah, because they're only sitting looking fastball.
Right. 43 pitch inning.
Now, if you can feel comfortable, if you threw a curveball right now, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get an out. Now, with the bases loaded, a 3-2 count, rule of thumb is you're always going to try to go with your best pitch, most consistent one as far as a strike. But a curveball right now would probably get an out.
So Meyer again, 3-2 delivers, and once again fouled off. So this has been a long at bat here. Corcoran has really battled fouling off 2 strike pitches. 2 runs have scored in the inning. The Cubs have scored in each of the last 4 innings in this game. They already have 12 runs on 13 hits, and we're in the 5th inning. It's 12-5 Chicago. Usually if a team has 5 runs at this point of the game, you're in pretty good shape. But the Angels are down 7. And there is ball 4. That's a bases loaded walk, and that's going to be it for Alex Meyer. He ended up walking the final 3 that he faced here today, and ends up walking 4 of the 8 batters overall. Back-to-back bases loaded walks, forcing in runs. So we have a break in the action. A pitching change here in the 5th inning. It's now 13-5 Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West.
An unlimited
New pitcher for the Angels is reliever and right-hander Drew Gagnon, 6'4", 195-pounder. Angels got him from the Milwaukee Brewers during the offseason. We've seen Gagnon this spring, and as he gets set to pitch, this will be his third outing this spring. A couple of scoreless innings. He has a save. And he takes over for Meyer, who had a tough day. Alex Meyer, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits allowed. Right now 3 runs earned, and he leaves with the bases loaded. All those runners his property. Meyer walked 4, did not strike out any. 8 walks already issued by the Angels today, and we're only in the top of the 5th. Here's the pitch, and that is right in there for a called strike. This is Jacob Hanneman. He's the 9th batter up in the inning. Last inning, the Cubs sent 11 batters to the plate. Here's the next pitch, and that is in there for a strike. So Gagnon has come in back-to-back strikes, and he's way in front here with 2 outs and runners everywhere.
63 punch-outs last year and 68 2/3, so you know he has that capability of getting a punch-out.
Right-hander's next pitch, and that is in there for a called third strike. He fooled the batter. Hanneman struck him out looking. Looked like he might have given him a curveball there, and that will end the inning. So the Cubs are retired here in the 5th. They get 3 more runs. They had only 2 hits. They've scored 10 runs in the last 2 innings on only 6 hits. And as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning, it's 13-5 Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West.
Defensive substitutions for the Cubs. Now pitching number 87, Ryan Williams. The new catcher is number 73, Victor Caratini.
Ryan Williams is the new pitcher here for the Cubs, who have made a lot of changes. We'll pick up the rest of them for you in just a moment. Danny Espinosa is the batter for the Angels. And here's the next pitch from the right-hander. That one is a little bit, well, the home plate umpire Dale Scott says it caught the corner, so it's in there for a strike. 2-1 is the count. They have the infield back and the outfield playing him to the opposite way. Here's a fly ball lifted down the right field side in foul territory. Unable to make the grab is the first baseman, just out of the reach of the new Cubs first baseman. Chris Dominguez playing over there now.
Yeah, usually from that angle, a little bit easier play. Most times for second baseman, cut that angle over as far as the first baseman going back on it, trying to catch it over the shoulder.
So it's a 2-2 count. Williams is ready, and here's the next pitch, and that one is fouled back to the screen. Espinosa today is batting for the third time. He has a walk and a strikeout. He's also scored a run. Ian Happ is now playing second base for the Cubs. Came in as a pinch runner in the top of the inning. Here's Espinosa taking that 2-2 pitch, and that breaking ball freezes him, struck him out looking. One away. So the next batter is C.J. Cron. With Williams pitching, Eddie Butler ended up going 2 innings for the Cubs and gave up 2 hits. Also a couple of runs. They were earned. In the walk department, 2 issued by Butler. Strikeout department, he had 1. And Williams pitch, that's on the outside part of the plate. That's a called strike. Here's the next pitch, and that's a little bit low. It misses for a ball. The shortstop in the game now for the Cubs is Chesney Young. Here's a cut and a miss by Cron to count 1-2. They also have a new third baseman. Candelario is playing there for Chicago. And in the outfield, they've changed things up as well. There's a pitch that misses, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Eloy Jimenez is playing in left field for them. The new center fielder on a move there is Hanneman is still there. And they have a new right fielder as well. That is Mark Zagonis. Behind the plate for the Cubs, they have Victor Caratini. Here's a ball popped up on the right side. That's going to land just behind the Angels dugout on the first base side.
So just a few changes for you, Terry.
Just a couple.
Yes.
Welcome to the Cactus League, Mark Dubasson.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. 2-2 the count, and we'll probably see a lot of reserves coming in for the Angels maybe as soon as next inning. Next delivery on Cron, it's low and away, so it's a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Williams is ready, and here's the payoff. It's skied in the air, foul over on the third base side, and it's going to land and be caught reaching over the railing there by the third baseman. Boy, that ball kind of hooked back in towards him a little bit. It looked like it might even go back to behind their dugout, but the catch made by the third baseman over there. We mentioned Candelario.
The wind blowing out the right field kind of pushed out it back. It was high enough over the stadium, being able to bring that ball back. Nice play. Put that into the glove, reach over in the dugout, had the help of his teammates there to make sure he didn't fall in there. Solid play.
Yep. Never gave up on that one. So at the plate is Marte, and he cuts at that pitch and misses it for strike 1. No balls and a strike. Williams pitching for the second time this spring for the Cubs. A couple of scoreless innings for him in relief. 1-1 on Marte. Jeffrey today, a couple of hits, homer and a single. He's driven in runs with each one of those hits. 2 balls, 1 strike the count. The Cubs have jumped on the Angels here today with 13 runs, up 13-5. And here's the next pitch, grounded to third off the glove of Candelario. By the time he picks it up, he has some time to throw, but gets it there late. So safe at first base will be Marte. That was not a real easy play there as Candelario went to his left, and I believe they're going to give Marte his 3rd hit of the day.
Yeah, it was hit well. Pretty good throwing arm for Ken Mallary to throw across the diamond. Almost got Marte at first, but again, another good swing by Marte.
He's been one of the lone bright spots for the Angels today. And here's a fly ball that's lifted into deep center field. Backpedaling out near the warning track out there and making the catch is Hanneman. And that'll retire Maldonado. Hit that ball a good 400 feet to center, but the inning ends on the deep fly out. Angels have a pretty quiet fifth inning. No runs, a hit, no errors, and the Angels lead one. The sixth inning is coming up. It's 13-5. Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. A lot of changes for the Angels. We'll pick those up for you in just a moment as we head now to inning number 6. Ian Happ is the first batter up here for the Cubs, and this will be his first at bat of the day. Happ is hitting out of Schwarber's leadoff spot. He came in a pinch run for him last inning. He is batting from the left side, and the pitch in there. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. So Drew Gagnon on the hill, and his next pitch, that one misses. 2 balls and 1 strike to count. Matt Thaiss is now the new first baseman for the Angels. First round pick a year ago. Here's a fly ball lifted into deep center field. Going back on it and unable to get to it in time is Shane Robinson. That one bangs off the wall after it hit the warning track out there, and that's going to be a lead-off double here for Happ. Now Robinson went back, and then before he knew it, that ball was over his head.
He hit well, and tracking away from a left-handed batter. It's going to drift away from his center field, and when he thinks it's going to straight at him, ends up being a lead-off double.
So stepping up now is Mark Zagunis. This is his first time up. And the first pitch on the right-handed batter. He takes that one outside for a ball. Now playing at second base for the Angels is Sherman Johnson. Caleb Cowart is the third baseman. Next pitch, that's fouled off to our right, backing out of play. Nolan Fontana is the new Angel shortstop. Mentioned Shane Robinson is out there in center field. The new right fielder for the Angels is Ryan Lamar. 1-1 on Zagunis, and the next pitch, and he takes that one for a called strike. Tony Sanchez is the new Angel catcher. So the only player still in the lineup from the starting lineup is Eric Young, and Eric Young Jr. still out there in left field. Here's the next pitch, chopped on the left side right at the new shortstop Fontana. His throw to Theis is in time, and retired is Zagunis, and on the play moving over to third base will be Happ. Chris Dominguez will be the next batter. So I think we've gotten all the paperwork squared away now, Mark.
Yeah, you do. You got the eraser working and everything else.
Oh,
Terry.
yeah.
You got the pencil sharpener with you?
Do have the pencil sharpener. Not the good one, though. This is the spring training one.
Spring training version.
There's a pitch that's low. You don't want to waste your good pencil sharpener until you get to the regular season.
Yeah,
so
no.
you bring in one of the reserve sharpeners.
That is a veteran move right there.
And there's a lot of pencil sharpening to be done in these games. Here's the pitch. This is bounced back to the mound. Good stop by Gagno. Keeps the runner at third, throws to first, and gets Dominguez the batter. So nicely done all the way around by the pitcher. And that'll be out number 2.
Yeah, Gagno did a nice job. They've been working on those fielding drills today. We saw that on the big field here earlier. Get off the mound quickly, look over towards third base to make sure the runner doesn't go home, and then get that out at first base. Well done. And you do that a million times, it seems to be in spring training. The old pitchers fielding their position. Bunt plays, ground balls back up the middle to know what to do with the man on third, know what to do with the man on first as far as turning a double play. All those things come into play.
Chesney Young is the batter for Chicago. This is his first at bat, and he takes the first pitch for a ball. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Young is a fairly highly touted prospect in the Cubs organization. The base runner over at third base, Ian Happ, is regarded as one of the very best in their system. 2 balls and no strikes is the count here on Young. Not a guy with a whole lot of power as he takes that pitch for a called strike on the outside corner.
Not easy to be a young player now in the Chicago system, but when you think about all the young players at the major league level, star players that are still so young, not many openings.
Here's the next one on the batter, Young, and he drives that ball into left center field, chasing hard after it and making the running grab out there. His momentum taking him out on the warning track. Shane Robinson, the center fielder, gathers it in, and that will end the inning. So they had the leadoff double, but they leave the runner on. That was the only hit in the inning, and as we go to the bottom of the 6th, it is all Cubs right now. They're up 13-5 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Angels set the bat as we go to the bottom of the 6th, 13-5 in favor of the Cubs. First batter up, batting for the first time in the game, is Shane Robinson. He's hitting out of Pennington's spot. Cliff Pennington was 1 for 2 today. No balls, 1 strike, the count on Robinson. Williams still in there for the Cubs, and the next pitch, that's lifted foul on the left side, backing out of play. We should be getting the official attendance here shortly, and this looks like the best crowd so far this spring here at Tempe Diablo. And the Angels were thinking maybe around in the 8,000 range here today. We'll find out in just a bit. Angels will have a scheduled day off tomorrow, and the pitch, this is grounded by the mound out near shortstop. It's booted there by Chesney Young. Well, they're going to give the batter Robinson a hit on that one, thinking had Young fielded the ball cleanly, it still would be a close play, so he gets the benefit of the doubt, a hit on that.
Yeah, try to be real quick on the transfer to be able to get that quick throw over the first base, but Robinson, with his good speed going down the line, was unable to do so, so ends up with an infield hit for Shane Robinson.
Charitable call, if you ask me. And here's the pitch. This is Young batting. This is grounded right to second. Looks like 2. Flip to second. No, they won't get a relay to first. Well, Young can really run, so they do get the lead runner Robinson, and that'll be a fielder's choice.
A little bit of a bobble on that transfer too. To try, you have to be super quick to be able to get Eric Young Jr. out on a double play ball.
Looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter for Yunel Escobar. He was the leadoff man in DH today. He leaves the game going 1 for 2 with an RBI. Francisco Arcia, catcher in camp for the Angels, is the pinch hitter, and he's only had 3 at bats, no hits so far. Angels have a pinch runner over at first base for Young, Michael Hermosillo, and they'll stay in the ball game somewhere in the outfield, I'm sure, as that pitch is missed. The count is 0-2. So both teams getting in a lot of the reserve players now in this ball game. Here's the next pitch, and this one is lifted in the air to right field off the bat of Arcia. Circling under and making the grab on it is Zagunis, the right fielder. That'll be the second out. Sherman Johnson getting ready for his first at bat today. He's hitting out a Cole Calhoun's spot. Cole was 1 for 3. Mike Trout went 0 for 3 today. And the first delivery, that one is taken by Johnson for ball 1. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Williams with the next pitch, and that is a big cut and a miss. The bottom of the 6th inning, the Angels batting here in Tempe. It's brought to you by our friends at Rotolo Chevrolet in Fontana. Rotolo Chevrolet, pursuing excellence every day. Visit them at rotolo.com. That's rotolo.com. And the next pitch, Johnson was backing off the plate. That pitch snuck in there for a called strike.
Yeah, run that little two-seamer back on the inside part of the plate after he got Johnson swinging that pitch over his head. The pitch before, high fastball.
So 1-2 the count, and the next delivery, and that one is low and inside. It's now a 2-2 count.
Pitching line of Alex Meyer. 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 3 runs. They were earned, 4 walks.
Ryan Williams working in his second inning of relief here for the Cubs. The next pitch, that one a little bit low. Williams trying to get on the radar screen for the Cubs. Minor league pitcher. Done a pretty good job since coming in, working his second inning, and the 3-2. It's bounced back to him. He makes the stop, throws to first base, gets Johnson, and that will end the inning on the comebacker. Angels had a hit in the inning, but that was about it. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, leave a runner on. We are headed now to the 7th. Cubs leading the Angels 13-5 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. So we go to the 7th inning, and the first pitch from Gagno as he faces Jeimer Candelario. That one is taken for ball 1. It's 1 ball, no strikes. He bats from the left side, his first at bat today, and that pitch is on the outside corner. That's a called strike. Candelario is one of the best prospects right now in the Cubs organization. And here's the delivery. That one, he takes it for a ball. Switch hitter last year in action in AA and AAA, and he's a young guy, 22 years old. He hit .283 with 13 homers. Shows some patience at the plate. 70 walks last year in the minors, and he cuts it down and misses it. They count even on him. It's 2-2.
Gagno's showing a real good fastball, especially commanded at the outside part of the plate. The breaking ball has been solid also.
Mentioning this young player, Candelario, he is a third baseman by trade, so going to be hard.
I think that position's pretty locked up for a while.
With Chris Bryant there, but you know, he's a guy maybe he'll look at it another position, or certainly being one of the Cubs' best prospects, always a possible trade chip. Full count on him. And the 3-2 delivery, he reaches at that one and pops it in the air in his shallow left field. The Angels have a new left fielder in the ball game. That's Hermosillo, and he'll make the grab on it for the first out.
Hermosillo with a real good jump on that one. Shows a good closing speed to run down that shallow fly ball to left field.
Taylor Davis will be the batter. Davis is a guy who used to have very long hair, and Joe Madden had a little kind of benefit deal the other day for pediatric cancer. Here's a pitch that is chopped on the left side, stopped by the shortstop Fontana, and he will throw and get Davis, and that'll be the second out. Some of the Cubs players contributing to that charity, if you will. And Davis was one of the players who cut off his hair. So did Joe Madden.
What they raised, about $70,000.
Yeah, Joe Madden was telling us before the ball game. Charity event that Joe has been involved with the last few years, and the Cubs players got involved in it as well. There's one that's chopped foul by Jimenez on the third base side. The count is now no balls and 1 strike. Infield is backed up, 2 outs. The Cubs have not had too many quiet innings, but quiet so far here in this inning. Haven't had a 1-2-3 inning for the Cubs here in this ball game, and their big inning was the 7-run top of the 4th, and they got all 7 of those runs with 2 outs. Angels just couldn't get the final out. There's a cut and a miss that brings Jimenez down to a knee chasing that one, and the count on him is now 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Remember early in the spring, listening to games with you and Jose doing it, the Angels scored a lot of runs with 2 outs, a lot of big 2-out hits.
Absolutely. But today the tables turned. The 1-2, swing and a miss. He got him. Jimenez a strikeout victim, and a 1-2-3 inning against Chicago here in the top of the 7th. The bottom of the inning is coming up, and right now the Cubs have a commanding 13-5 lead on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Left-hander Brian Dunsing will take over for the Cubs as we get set to move now to the Angels' 7th, bottom of the 7th inning. And the first batter up is going to be Caleb Cowart. This will be his first at bat of the day, hitting out of Mike Trout's spot. Trout was 0 for 3. Dunsing's first pitch in there for a strike. Let's pause for stations to identify themselves on the Angels Baseball Radio Network. Terry Smith, Mark Gubasa, and our producer engineer Jorge Sevilla with you. It's been all Cubs today. They're up by 8 as the Angels bat here in the 7th. It's 13-5 as the pitch is chopped foul over on the third base side. Brian Dunsing was with the Orioles for a time last season. Signed with the Cubs in the offseason. 1-year deal. Veteran left-handed reliever. His cousin Cole Dunsing is in the Angels organization. He is a right-handed pitcher. And the next delivery, that one is fouled off. Cole Dunsing, the Angels farmhand, was selected last year in the 6th round by the Angels, so he's kind of in the infancy of his professional career. I'm sure he's picked Brian Dunsing's head a little bit.
It's invaluable to have a brother, especially, you know, how they be able to survive and be successful at the major league level. Especially with all the ups and downs.
Yeah. 2-2 the count. So there's a connection to the Dunsings now in pro ball. Cousins now professional baseball. There's one that's fouled back upstairs and out of play. 2-2 the count. Bright sunshine here. Some shadows starting to creep in from behind home plate. The Angels at one time led this game 5-3, but the Cubs have scored the last 10 runs in the game. And here's a ground ball hit right to the third baseman. Candelario has it. His throw will get Cowart. So that's the first out. Theis will be the batter.
Heard a lot of good things about Theis. Talking to Paul Sorrento today about him, how quick he is getting through that baseball.
Yeah, he has looked very confident at the plate. And again, this time a year ago, he was playing in college. Here's the pitch, and that one a little bit high and away.
This will be a good test of veteran left-handed reliever on the mound against him, too.
Here's today's attendance. 7,384. 7,384.
Here's the next pitch. Flare that's going to drop into shallow left center field, and opposite field hit for Theis.
Yeah, an impressive swing for Theis there to stay back on that one. Use the middle of the field against a lefty. Wasn't overmatched. Stayed back. Kept his hands back very well and lines it right back up the middle. That's a real good swing.
Yeah. Theis now 5 for 9 this spring. He's hitting over 500. So he is a one-out base runner. The attendance today, 7,384. 73-84. And batting now for the Angels is the catcher Tony Sanchez. He was taking the first pitch in there for a strike. Mentioned a little bit earlier, the Angels have a scheduled off day tomorrow, and then we'll be back in action on Wednesday to take on the Reds in Goodyear. The next day, the Angels will be at that same ballpark to play the Indians. Reds and Indians share that facility. And the pitch, that's bounced on a high hop to third. Stopped there by Candelario. Second one, relay to first. It's a double play. Boy, the Cubs did a nice job turning that one. And the inning quickly ends on that twin killing. So we're headed to the 8th. 13-5 Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Angels will bring in a new reliever. Kirby Yates is going to take over for Gagnon, who did a nice job. The Angels, for the most part, have struggled from a pitching standpoint here today, but Gagnon was very effective, and he worked 2 1/3 innings. He allowed only 1 hit, no runs. He did not walk any and struck out 2. So Yates will be the new Angel pitcher. He's been getting his share of action here this spring. This will be his 4th appearance. 3 scoreless innings of work so far. No walks, 5 strikeouts, just 1 hit allowed. As Kirby Yates gets set to work, pitcher number 7 of the day for the Angels. So Yates is ready. He faces Caratini, who's now catching for the Cubs. This is his first at bat, left-handed hitter. And the first pitch on Victor Caratini. He is taking its ball 1. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Caratini, a pretty highly thought of prospect in the Cubs system, and the next delivery takes that one on the inside part of the plate. That's a called strike. Caratini is from Puerto Rico. Switch hitting catcher.
You said that a number of times about the young players for the Chicago Cubs. Big prospects.
Yeah.
So what that allows you to do as an organization, it makes some trades come trade deadline, like it did last year.
There's a ball that's chopped right to the first baseman Theis, and he will beat Caratini to the bag. That'll be the first out. 1 quick out. And Hanahan, who's pretty much gone the whole ball game, he did come in to replace the starting center fielder Almora, who left because of some calf soreness. Hanahan is batting for the 5th time in the game. Here's the pitch. The left-handed batter takes in. That one is in there. Pretty tough day for Hanahan. 3 strikeouts, although he does have a walk. And he has scored a run, but 0 for 3. Left-handed batter. Yates' next delivery. It's lifted in the air down the left field side. Hermosillo is chasing toward the line in left. He'll make the catch in fair ground. Wasn't hit very deep. 2 quick outs.
Boy, so many of those walks in this game for Angels pitching turned into runs. You mentioned a walk by the Angel pitchers. Right. So many, so often there. That's the thing when you put guys on base, especially for a team like the Cubs that rely a lot on the patience and working walks, because then that power comes into play, and then hitters counts come into play also.
Here's the next batter, Ian Happ, batting, hitting left-handed, and the first pitch he was taking. It's in there for a strike. Angels have walked 8 Cubs batters. 5 of them have scored. And the Angels have had 3 bases loaded walks to force in runs. So you're flirting with disaster when those are some of the figures in a ball game, and certainly the reason the Angels are down by 8 here in the 8th. And the next pitch, that's fouled off on the left side, out of play. 0-2 the count. Andrew Bailey had a tough outing, although a number of the runs charged against him were runners he had left on base. And Greg Malley really struggled when he came in, and those runners scored, the property of Bailey. And then Alex Meyer really struggled today. He was unable to get through the 5th inning. He faced 8 batters and walked half of them. Also gave up a couple of hits and 3 runs. So 1-2 is the count here on Happ as Yates tries to make it a clean inning here against the Cubs in the 8th. Here's the next pitch. That's low and inside. 2-2.
Well, that's the beauty of spring training. None of these things actually count on that bubblegum card, though. But you have to make some adjustments. You know, obviously with Alex Meyer, you have to be more consistent throwing strikes. You know, the stuff is there. We've said that a number of times last year, too. He's altered his mechanics a little bit right now, so that's a work in progress, too. So Charles Nagy has his work cut out with Alex Meyer as far as smoothing that out.
Here's the next delivery, and that's fouled off over on the right side. And a fan trying to reach over the railing area there. The padding flipped over it. Cubs fan. Fans applauding his effort there.
Yes, it was a good effort.
I don't know if they're applauding his sanity, but they're applauding his effort. And there's a pitch that is chased and missed, spinning around and down on strikes. Is Happ, and a good inning for Kirby Yates. 1, 2, 3 innings. So he took a page out of Gagno's book in the top of the 8th. No runs, hits, or errors, and nobody left. We're moving on to the bottom of the 8th. It's a 13-5 Cubs lead here in Tempe on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Fans, don't forget to join the Angels April 7th and 8th for opening weekend. The Angels will take on the Seattle Mariners. Fans in attendance will receive a wall calendar. It's courtesy of U.S. Bank while supplies last. For more information, visit angels.com/promotions. So here we go to the Angels 8th inning. Bottom of the 8th we go, and at the plate is Ryan Lamar. His first at bat. He's facing left-hander Zach Roskup, and the pitch, and that one is cut on and missed. Roskup was sidelined last season because of shoulder problems, so he did not pitch. So he's on the comeback trail right now. And he's ready as he gets to sign the 0-2 pitch, and that misses a little bit low. So the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. Roskup has worked in 2 games, 2 scoreless innings so far for the Cubs. And here's the next pitch, popped in the air on the right side. Chasing after it is the right fielder, and not making the play on it is Zagunis, the right fielder. Mark Zagunis, he got across the line in foul ground and just was unable to quite reach that one. Had some trouble with the sun, it appeared.
Yeah, a little bit of that wind too, pushing it away from him. Talking to Paul Sorrento and Dave Hansen about Ryan Lamar, they really like what he can do. He can run, an occasional power, strong kid.
Yeah. He's kind of built along the lines of Mike Trout. Counts 1 ball, 2 strikes, and here's the pitch. He pops this one on the left side. The shortstop is going back. That's Chesney Young, and on the outfield grass he'll squeeze it, and Lamar is retired. That's the first out. The bottom of the 8th inning. It's being presented today by our friends at Rotolo Chevrolet in Fontana. Rotolo Chevrolet, pursuing excellence every day. Visit them at rotolo.com. That's rotolo.com. Ross Cup is replacing Brian Dunsing, who faced only 3 batters against the Angels in the 7th. Angels had 5 runs on the board in the first 3 innings, but have been quiet since. And in the meantime, the Cubs put a lot of runs on the board. In fact, 10 unanswered runs. 1 ball, 1 strike the count here on Nolan Fontana.
Yeah, it started real well for the Angels, especially on the offensive side. Scoring those runs early on, a double steal. Everything was clicking. Marte, another good game swinging the bat.
Here's the next delivery, and that one kind of froze Fontana. He takes it for strike 2. Ross Cup is ready, and the next pitch, he bounces that one in. So it's a 2-2 count. Shane Robinson waiting on deck. After the ball game, Mark will visit with Angels manager Mike Scioscia, and then you'll have Angels Live on Fox Sports West with Alex Curry.
Yep, breaking this one down.
Here's the 2-2, and that nearly hit the Angel batter Nolan Fontana. He had to move the feet to get out of the way. Full count, 3-2. This lefty-lefty matchup.
Cubs are a little different closer this year. Wade Davis coming over in the trade with Kansas City. No more Chapman closing, pitching a number of innings in the postseason last year for Chicago as they won the World Series.
And the next delivery on the 3-2, that one got away from everyone, and back to the backstop it goes. That's ball 4, so the Angels have a 1-out base runner. It's the 3rd walk allowed today by Cubs pitching. We mentioned the Angels have issued 8 walks in this game. And now stepping up to the plate is Robinson, who since coming in has had a hit his only time up. Here's the first pitch, and that one is a pitch a little bit low. 1 ball, no strikes. $7,300 the attendance here today. Angels and the Cubs. Breeze is blowing straight out to center field. And the next delivery, that one misses inside. We've had a couple of home runs in this ball game, 1 for each side. Hayward back in the 2nd for the Cubs, and then Marte hit one in the bottom of the 2nd for the Angels. Here's the 2-0, and it's on the outside corner. That's a called strike.
Yeah, generally you're going to see a higher run scored as far as games being played in the Cactus League as compared to the Grapefruit League. Different conditions down there in Florida as compared to here to Arizona. Ball flies a little bit better here. Wind's a little bit different, a little cooler for the most part at times in Florida too.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Here's the next pitch. Robinson with a shot into center field, but it's hanging up, and struggling out there is Hanneman, and he can't make the catch on that one. Boy, he really struggled. The ball rolls all the way out to the warning track. The Angels will get a run on it. That is a gift play right there. Wow. So the Angels score a run on that one, and now it's 13-6.
Center fielders always hit the most difficult baseball. The kids one directly right at him. Robinson hit it well, but Hanneman had a tough time tracking it in the sun. Directly right at the sun. Thought he had it beat on, then right away you knew he was having trouble tracking that into his glove, and gets by him and ends up being a run scored, and Robinson ends up at 3rd.
He wound up getting a triple on that one. And a run batted in, but that's a gift. And the next pitch, and this ball is hit well by Hermosillo out to left center field. It's out by the wall, And that ball is going to be off the fence in play. A run will score. Hermosillo will dive into third base. Back-to-back triples for the Angels, who have gotten a couple of runs here in the inning and cut the Cubs lead to 13-7.
Yeah, Hermosillo all over that pitch, hits the top of the wall and gets away from the left fielder. Pretty good swing, stayed back on it well, drives it. We talk about the carry here in Arizona off the top of the wall. And good speed, good read off the wall. Ends up with a triple, back-to-back triples for the Angels.
So the Angels get a little bit closer, still have a pretty high hill to climb here in this one. But a chance to get another run with the runner at third and only one out. At the plate is Arcia. He's been up once and he flied out his first time up. Fly ball deep enough to the outfield would mean another run here, but the Angels have to conserve their outs in this ball game as well. And there's a pitch that's ball two. It's 2-0. Ross Cup delivers a little pop that's foul on the left side. That one's going to get back a few rows out of play. So 2 balls and 1 strike to count on Francisco Arcia. Ross Cup is the 5th pitcher of the day for Chicago. Arrieta worked 2, Butler 2 innings, Williams 2, Dunsing 1 inning, and now Zach Ross Cup working here in his first inning in the bottom of the 8th. Next pitch, that's fouled off on the left side, backing out of play. So 2-2 the count.
Good little battle here. She's trying to get the job done as far as the very least get this run across.
21 pitch inning right now for the Cubs lefty, and there's a chopper on the right side. This is going to get a run in, as the throw to first will easily get Arcia, but he'll get a run batted in on the 4-3 ground out, and now it's 13-8 Chicago. Sherman Johnson will be the batter. Johnson has had 1 at bat today, and he bounced one back to the mound. First pitch on Sherm. He takes that one, and it's in there for a called strike. Lefty-lefty matchup. There's been a few of them in the inning, and the pitch, a little pop into shallow right center. It's going to find a spot and drop in. It's a blue base hit. Johnson keeps the inning going. 2-out single. Cowart will be the next batter. Joe Madden is coming out of his dugout, and he is going to make a pitching change here. So Ross Cup unable to go a full inning here, allowing the 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. We have a break in the action. A pitching change coming up when we get back. Angels still batting in the 8th, trailing at 13-8 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Well, the Cubs have brought in a right-hander who has made one appearance for them this spring, going an inning and 2/3 of hitless and scoreless relief. Steven Paraxlis is his name. And last season in the minors, a 2-5 record in 75 innings with a 3.60 ERA. So he replaces Roscup, who ended up facing 6 batters. 3 of them had hits, 1 walked, 3 have scored. And the Angels looking to keep this bottom of the 8th alive with 2 outs and a runner on at first base. The batter is Cowart, and the first pitch on Caleb, and that's outside. 1 ball, no strikes.
It's 00 number on the mound today for the Chicago Cubs.
That is correct. Player up from their minor league camp. And here's the pitch that's popped in the air down the left side. That's a foul ball. It's going to get back and out of play.
Usually see those 97s and 98s, but a 00.
Unusual.
Yes.
Well, the Angels have a single 0, and that's Yunel Escobar. Ball 1 strike the count. Here's the next delivery, and that is in there for a strike on Cowart. So the count jumps to 1-2. Angels off tomorrow. Play the Reds on Wednesday, the Indians on Thursday, and then the Angels will be back here in Tempe to take on the Padres this Friday. Dodgers will host the Angels on Saturday, and the next delivery, that's fouled back behind the plate. So the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes. Talked about it a few days ago when the Angels faced the White Sox. That was on Saturday of last week at Camelback Ranch. That's the ballpark the White Sox and Dodgers share. Angels will be back there later on this week. And on the 2-strike delivery, Cowart takes. He's out looking. Took a called 3rd strike, and that's how the inning will end. So Paraxlis comes in, strikes out the batter Cowart. Angels get the 3 in the inning, leave a runner on. We're headed to the 9th. To 13-8 Cubs lead on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Drip. Angels will go to the bullpen once again and bring in pitcher number 8 this afternoon, and young Right-hander Keenan Middleton will take over for the Angels. So he replaces Kirby Yates. Yates had a 1-2-3 inning last inning with a strikeout. And here is Middleton, who we've seen briefly this spring, getting ready to work the 9th inning. Zagunis is the batter, and the first pitch on him, a right-handed batter. He takes that one for a called strike. Middleton's 3rd appearance this spring, 2 innings. He's allowed a hit, 2 runs. And here's the next pitch, and that one pitch on the outside corner for a called strike. 0-2.
Yeah, real good velocity on his fastball. He's that little bit of a hip turn a la King Felix Hernandez to be able to maintain balance over that pitching rubber.
That's a good call on that observation right there. Here's the next delivery, and that one is high. And King Felix is a guy that Middleton has kind of watched a lot of videotape on him. He is a big fan of Felix Hernandez, the Seattle starter. Kind of patterns his game after him. Middleton has a very good arm, and the next delivery, and that's on the outside corner. Struck him out looking. 1 away.
Good velocity, great location. Talked about that hip turn and allowed him to have good balance over the rubber. You see there, he's balancing. He's got that good downward action to be able to hit that outside corner. Everything about that delivery very similar to Felix Hernandez. It's amazing what Felix is now 30 years old. It seems like, I mean, that's still young, but 13 years already in the major league level for Felix.
Here's a pitch fouled off on the right side, and he's had to evolve as a pitcher. He's not the power guy that he once was early in his major league career.
We look at his average fastball the last couple of years. It's anywhere between 91, 92. Remember, he used to be 97, 98.
Right.
But that great changeup and split he has, and curveball and slider.
Chris Dominguez just fouled a pitch off, out of play on the right side. Cubs 13 runs, 14 hits. The Angels 8 runs, 13 hits. 0-2 delivery, and that came inside on Dominguez. Nearly got a piece of him. And the count's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That'll open up the outer part of the plate after a fastball like that inside.
Here's the next delivery, and that one a little bit low and away. Middleton was a 3rd-round pick of the Angels in 2013. And he was a very good basketball player. He was drafted out of junior college, where he was playing both baseball and basketball. Next pitch, that's fouled off on the left side. Big strikeout pitcher last year in the Angels system between Inland Empire, Arkansas, and Salt Lake. 88 strikeouts in 66 innings. Fastball's been clocked at 102. And here's the 2-2 pitch. Reaching at that one, fouling it off is Dominguez. So it's 2-2 the count on Chris Dominguez, who since coming into the ball game has been playing some first base for the Cubs. Angels have the infield back. And here's the next pitch. Swing and a miss, and he threw it by him right there. Gave him that good fastball. Struck him out. Back-to-back strikeouts. 2 are gone. And the next hitter will be Chesney Young.
Especially when you know, as a hitter, you know somebody has a fastball like that, but because you've thrown the fastball inside, you've thrown an off-speed pitch in the sequence too, it's very difficult to catch up to a high fastball at that velocity upstairs like that. Very impressive so far in 2 batters.
So here's Young batting, a right-handed hitter. That one was a good fastball, but high. The Cubs have some more action in their bullpen, so we might see another reliever from them when we get to the bottom of the inning. They've already used 6 pitchers today. And here's the next one from Middleton. It's a fly ball lifted to right field. Lamar should make the play toward the line in medium right. He'll squeeze it. And it's a clean inning for Keenan Middleton as he sets him down in the top of the 9th. The bottom of the 9th is next. The Angels need runs, down by 5, 13-8 Cubs on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Here we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. It's 13-8 in favor of the Cubs. The new pitcher is John Daniel Medina. Spells the first name J-H-O-N-D-A-N-I-E-L. John Daniel Medina getting ready to work. And the first pitch, that one is a little bit low. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Theis in his 1 at bat has a single today. The shadows are starting to creep out right near home plate, and the pitch, this is chopped on the right side right at the second baseman, handled by Happ, and he will throw out Theis. That's the first out. Next up for the Angels will be catcher Tony Sanchez, as Medina works here for the Cubs. As far as how things are going for him this spring, this is his 4th appearance, 4 scoreless innings of work. Here comes the pitch, and that is on the outside corner. That's a called strike, 0-1. Almost hard to believe with the kind of offense that the Cubs have had today. 13 runs out of 14 hits. Their last 12 batters in a row have been retired in order. There's a cut and a miss, and the count on Sanchez now 0-2. Cubs fans and the Angels fans here in the bottom of the 9th, each trying to drown out each other. Little cheer competition going on. There's a pitch that's low. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Medina replaces Peraclis, who ended up facing 1 batter last inning in relief of Ross Cup, and got a strikeout. That was against Cowart in the Angels inning. Angels did get 3 last inning to get a little bit closer in this game, as the pitch is fouled off by Sanchez. The count 1-2. Medina has the sign, and here's the next delivery. That's a little bit low. 2-2 is the count. Angels have had some pretty good offense today. 8 runs, 13 hits, but not nearly enough runs. Here's the 2-2. That's fouled back behind the plate. Mark Gubicza has gone downstairs. He'll get ready to visit with Angels manager Mike Scioscia, and then he'll be joined by Alex Curry for Angels Live on Fox Sports West. We'll have some more post-game coverage for you on the radio side as well after the ball game. It's a 2-2 count here on Sanchez. The next delivery checks on that one, and it misses. Situation now with those shadows creeping right into the batter's circle. The batter Sanchez can see his shadow right in front of him as he digs in. Getting to be a tough time now for the batters. Bright sunshine out on the mound. And the 3-2 pitch. This is hit well into center field. Hanneman is chasing back. He's near the rim of the track, and on the warning track, he will gather that one in. He's had some trouble out there in center, but he made the play on that one. So the Angels are down to their final out in the ball game, and Ryan Lamar, who's been up once with a pop out, will be the next batter. Right-hander against right-hander. First pitch, Lamar taking it's right in there for a called strike. And about half the crowd leave and half remain, and the pitch, that's hit well down the left field side. It's out by the wall in left field. It hits off the wall near the 340 sign, and stopping at second with that double to keep the game alive is Lamar. Gave it a good charge down the left side. Nolan Fontana will be the next batter. Fontana in his 1 at bat has walked. He'll bat here from the left side as he faces Medina. Here's the pitch on the lefty batter, and Fontana takes that one inside. It's a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Each team now with 14 hits, but the Cubs have 5 more runs. Angels down to their final out in the game. The pitch, and that's inside. 2-1 the count. John Daniel Medina on the hill. And his next delivery, that's fouled off on the left side. That's going to get back near the seats a few rows back down the left side, out of play. And now with 2 outs, it's a 2-2 count on Fontana. Fontana's had 2 hits so far this spring and 11 times up. He's a new player in the Angels system. And he awaits the next delivery. A look at second by the pitcher Medina, and the pitch a little bit low. Two and 2 is the count. Fontana, formerly in the Astros organization, played AA, AAA in the Houston system a year ago. Here's the 2-2. He pops this one up on the third base side. Chasing is the third baseman and the catcher, but neither one can get to it in time. It drops right in front of the Cubs dugout over there on the left side. Caratini and Candelario were each in pursuit there, but out of the reach of each of them. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Shane Robinson would follow in the 2 at-bats Robinson's had today. He's had a pair of hits, a single and an RBI triple. He'd like another at-bat here in this one, and the 2-2 on Fontana. He checks on a pitch that missed. They asked for the appeal, get it, but the third base umpire says that Fontana was holding, so it's a full count. Talked about Nolan Fontana earlier this spring. His grandfather, Lou Burdett, all-star pitcher in Major League Baseball, and the next delivery, and that's high and outside, and Fontana has a walk to keep the game alive. He's had a pair of them since coming in. So the Angels trying to keep this thing going. Shane Robinson will bat for the 3rd time with the 2 hits today. Lamar, the lead runner. He's at second. Fontana on at first, and the pitch. It's a little pop into right center field. Diving and unable to hold on to the ball is the right fielder. 1 run is scored. 2 are in. And stopping at second base will be Robinson. And now it's a 13-10 ball game. Zagunis, the right fielder, went diving. He had that ball in his glove for a moment, but when he hit the ground out there, hit the grass in right center, the ball got jarred loose. So the Angels will take it. It's now a 3-run ball game. That ball was in that glove for a while, and it just squirted out. So here's Hermosillo batting with Robinson on at second with his 3rd hit since coming into the ball game, and there's a pitch that's fouled back behind the plate. Hermosillo has had a triple his only time up today. Medina, the Cubs reliever, got the first 2 batters out. The next 3 have reached base safely. 2 of them have scored. Here's the pitch, and that's low and outside. Well, sometimes in these Cactus League games, the pitchers who are up from the minors to see action tend to put a little extra pressure on themselves, and Medina trying to get the final out against the Angels. They're hanging tough with him with 2 outs. Here's one popped foul. It's going to head back a good 7 or 8 rows out of play. And the count is now 1-2. The Angels down to their final strike once again in this ball game. Hermosillo, if he can keep it alive, Arcia would be the next batter. Angels have actually out-hit the Cubs now in this game, 15 hits to 14. Here's the next pitch. And it's a cut and a miss, and down on strikes goes Hermosillo, and that's how the ball game will end. Struck him out. So the Angels ended up getting a pair here in the bottom of the 9th inning, but not enough as the Cubs come away with the victory by the final of 13-10. A ball game that featured 29 hits and 23 runs today here at Tempe Diablo Stadium. Angels end up dropping it again 13-10. Mark Ubisow will be joined by Angels manager Mike Scioscia in just a moment. The line score today, Cubs had 13 runs, 14 hits, 2 errors. They end up leaving 9. And as far as the Angels, 10 runs, 15 hits, 1 error. And the Angels will end up leaving 8. Eddie Butler will end up being the winning pitcher in the ballgame for the Chicago Cubs. Let's go down to Mark Ubisow standing by with Angels manager Mike Scioscia.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. 10 runs scored on the offensive side. Certainly some positives today for the club.
Yeah, we did some things well, Goop. We ran the bases well, hit the ball hard, hit some hard outs, as well as Arizona days, though. And when you're not getting the ball over the plate like we did, you know, it's going to be tough. So I think we saw a lot of things today that we can adjust from, especially for the pitching and catching department. We were just off the plate. We have to make some adjustments there, but we'll use it to get these guys a little further ahead.
You talk about running the base double steal today. How important is it to be able to get that going down here in spring training for ready for the season?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I think that we need to run the base aggressively. We have some team speed. I think we're all, you know, I think we're all excited about the way we can push some things on the bases. We did this afternoon, and hopefully we'll keep moving forward and get it going into the season.
And one last thing, you talk about, you know, the pitching staff, a little bit of control problems. How can you iron that out so quickly to be able to go out there for Alex Myers next time out?
Well, I think you have to find out what you can control. You know, certainly from the pitcher-catcher relationship, we want to take a look at where, you know, Martin Maldonado was setting up. Maybe he was a little bit off. Maybe he wasn't in the right spot to give, you know, Alex the release point. And if he was, then it's obviously something that Alex needs to do out there on the mound to make some adjustments.
All right, so I appreciate it.
All right, Gooby.
All right, Terry, back to you. Yeah, a little adjustment there with the pitching staff, but also some positives, obviously, on the offensive side, and we do love that double steal today.
You got it, Mark. Thanks, and great having Mark Ubisow here for the next week or so in Cactus League action. The Angels drop it to the Cubs today by the final score of 13-10. For those of you watching on Fox Sports West, Mark Ubisow, along with Alex Curry, will have a lot more post-game analysis. That's right around the corner on Angels Live. On the radio side, we'll have some more for you coming up as well. Again, the final 13-10 Cubs over the Angels. This is the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West.